Find us on Facebook, email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com, or go to our website at head2headpinball.com.
Welcome everybody to the Head2Head Pinball Podcast, episode number 13, a action-packed episode. And I'm Martin, and with me,
Ryan C.
It really is action-packed. What do you think?
Yeah, we had the Chicago Pinball Expo happen over the weekend in the US,
Yes.
in Chicago. And it was huge. And as always, there's lots of news to digest and talk about. We'll be going through all the developments from there, including news from Stern, the new Pirates of the Caribbean game from Jersey Jack, news on Houdini, TNA, everything that came out, Dutch Pinball.
Yeah, it's all there.
It's all there.
We're also going to be announcing the winner of our competition, and we're going to do a live random draw on air. So what could possibly go wrong?
Exciting.
It is.
But firstly, we would like to make a couple of little corrections from last week, because we do make a lot of mistakes.
But I love that. I love that we've done enough podcasts now that all the mistakes are coming in.
Well, I noticed the mistakes, but for some reason this week I got emailed like 4 different times about the mistakes that we made. So and the companies we missed out on. And so first mistake was we talked about which pinball machines, the Stern LEs, have kind of lost their value and haven't held on to their value. And we missed probably the biggest one, which is WWE, WrestleMania, I think it's meant to be called.
But
So
in our defence, what I was sort of saying at the time was, what limited edition has lost its value, and I'm not actually saying this to be funny, though it sounds funny, what limited edition has lost its value that's worth buying.
okay.
Because WrestleMania isn't. And so that was my angle last week. So we didn't kind of miss WrestleMania. It was never really in the mix.
I'm kind of enjoying that game. I watched the Bro, tutorial on it, and
I don't mind it.
And I'm really saddened to know that it's not going to be at the Fleece anymore soon. So I watched their entire tutorial for no reason at all. Anyway,
except that it's a great tutorial. Thanks, guys.
Well, yes, I did enjoy watching Nick get 100 million jackpots and everyone going crazy. Okay, the second one is Captain Morgan isn't whiskey, it's spiced rum.
Yes.
And you should know that, Marty, because you're an alcoholic.
I'm not. I only drink gin. I don't know any other alcohol. So I don't know. Rum and whiskey, they're the same thing, aren't they?
You can still be. Yeah, it's true. But you can still be an alcoholic and just choose one type of alcohol to.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're in denial.
I am.
All right. The other one is we got a message saying that we should harden the F up for complaining about playing a couple of hours of pinball. And I did listen back to our podcast. And it was mainly me. I was whinging a bit about competitive pinball. I was just tired. You
were very tired that night.
So the last correction was that the Stern Army cannot be opened in Australia. And
Yes.
There's about 3 people messaged me and said they've already applied for it. And they got a message back from Zach Sharp. It is now, but I'm not sure who it was before, saying that unfortunately it isn't available yet in Australia, and when it is, he'll let everyone know.
Yeah, okay. Well, bring it on.
Marty, what's the next bit of news?
So, very exciting news for me and for you, in fact, and long-waiting piece of news, and that is that Colour DMD finally have released the code update for Star Trek, and I've been waiting for this for a very long time. It's my only Stern machine, and they've talked about it a lot, and it has probably been the most requested. Whenever they put their hints up on their Facebook page about what's coming up, you'll always read the comments. Everyone always says, I hope it's Star Trek. And the reason being, for those people that don't know how it's done, is that most of the animation that they do is colorized versions of pre-existing animation. The difference with Star Trek is a lot of the animation is actually randomly generated. So when it hits the pop bumpers and you see all the scores go up, they're randomly placed on the screen. So they had to find a way to be able to colorize that.
Yeah, the mistake they made is they kind of announced they were working on it about 2 years ago. So everyone was kind of quite thirsty for it, and it's here. And it wasn't just one title. He announced that at Expo, which is past, there was he was also going to demo World Cup Soccer.
Yes,
the good one, and Godzilla. What are you buying the Star Trek Gala DMD, Marty?
Yes, I am. In fact, I've gone in on a group deal, apparently.
Oh, really? How come you didn't tell me about this?
Because you're also in on it. So
okay.
Our mate Andy's organised it. Thanks, Andy. And we'll talk about Andy later.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been obviously waiting for this for a very long time because my Star Trek is never going to leave my collection. It's always going to be there. And the best upgrade you can have to it right now is to colorise the DMD.
You know what's funny? The first time I got Star Trek, I bought it without knowing anything about the machine. And, it chooses a random mission for you when you start. And the first mission that was chosen, the first game I played on it, was Save the Enterprise.
Right.
And I punched the ball, and I started looking at the animations, and those the dots on Star Trek are possibly the coolest dots I've seen. There's a lot of cool dots on games, but Star Trek, there's just so many of them, especially when you go deep into level 2 and level 3, which hardly ever happens for me.
No, of course.
But the level 1 of Save the Enterprise is really bad compared to the rest of it, because you've got they're running through and they're jumping from I don't know, layer to layer. I don't even know what's going on, but there's no they're zoomed in to a certain area that you can't see the details on their face. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so. Is that the one where they're running from left to right like a platformer?
Just to the left, yeah, like a platformer, yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty rubbish compared to the other ones.
So I haven't seen that in color yet, but I'm hoping that they kind of got to add a bit more detail to that because if they can save that, then it's all good. But
I'm not sure it's savable compared to the rest of it. The rest of the dots are great. There's a lot of really good, fast animation. And Color DMD on their Facebook page and probably on their website as well, they've released a sample video of it. It just looks amazing.
Cool. We should get that in a couple of weeks. Moving along to Chicago Pinball Expo. We're there already.
We are there, and probably the first thing is that there was, every year there is, people that are there that are feeding us information, but it just felt this year there was just a lot of people feeding us lots of photos and video footage, and a lot of seminars were filmed. It was great. So there's a few people we just want to do a bit of a shout out for, keeping us over the other side of the world informed.
Yeah. Firstly, Jeff from This Week in Pinball for just collating all the information. I don't think it was there, but he just is a really good collator of information. He puts it up on the website so quick, and that Jersey Jack page is just so well formatted. He just puts everyone to shame, I think, in that category. And it's just, Next is Zach and Greg from Straight Down the Middle. They have a pinball podcast and a YouTube page, and I don't know about you, Marty, but I find those guys hilarious because they just don't take anything seriously like me.
Yeah, it's like kindred spirits.
Yeah, and they took a lot of footage. Nick and Kevin from Bro Do You Even Talk Pinball. Is that what it's Bro Do You Even...
It's Bro Do You Even Pinball is their streaming,
yeah.
And then Bro Do You Even Talk Pinball is their podcast.
Every time I say bro, I'm like, which one do I say?
I
can just call them the bro guys.
Or Buffalo Pinball also works.
Buffalo Pinball, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
it does. So they streamed the live reveal of Jersey Jack Pirates of the Caribbean. They've also done an interview that's up on their page or their podcast stream now of the designer of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep. Shout out to Jack Danger. Yeah, he was streaming his entire life there.
He was. It was actually really interesting. He was walking around. Lots of people were talking to him. He was also up front of a lot of these. The Stern seminar, he was right up front, and I believe he was also up the front at Jersey Jack.
Cool. Yep. And just everyone in general that took photos and posted them on social media and Pinside. So. And
there was a tournament that happened at Pinball Expo, so we won't go into too much detail because we really want to talk about the manufacturers and what they had to release. But big congratulations to Keith Elwin, who won the Pinball Expo flip-out competition. I believe Zach Sharp came second and John Repligal came third. And also another big shout-out to the bros because both Nick and Kevin they both qualified in A division. And I was just listening to their podcast now, and it sounds like they had a great time. And I think it was Nick got to play against Keith Owen, and that was a big highlight for him, so that's cool.
Okay. All right, now to the juicy information. So we're going to go through a list of all the companies that kind of made an appearance at Chicago Pinball Expo and kind of give you an update on what they've been up to. So first ones were American Pinball with Houdini.
Yes.
And they did a little talk, and I haven't managed to watch all the talk yet, but we've got a bit of a rundown of the changes that have been made to the machine. Marty.
So I'm reading this off a list because I've got to admit that I was talking about this over the weekend. I've got to admit I have been really hyped about Houdini for a while. I really like the look of it, I've got to say. But after seeing Pirates of the Caribbean, I've gone a bit lukewarm on it. But anyway, just because I think they've now set the standard, and we'll get to that, and now Houdini is kind of just another game. Anyway, so they've added lighting down at the flippers with theatre-inspired spotlights. There you go, great. They've removed...
These are all very little things, by the way.
I know. They've removed part of a plastic ramp and made it a wire form. Awesome. They've revised the stage marquee playfield mini LCD. The catapult is refined, so it's now got about, 90% success rate?
Well, upper 90s, so...
Upper 90s, yeah.
So close to 100.
Yeah, and they're sort of trying to, I guess, kind of like the thing flips and also maybe the toy box on Aerosmith. Yeah, they're trying to implement some sort of learning thing so it will adjust on the fly, which is kind of cool. Custom side blades will be available. They're trying to fit into the bill of materials. We'll see how they go. Magic Glass developed to compete with Invisiglass or PDI.
Everyone's doing this these days. It's the flavour of the month.
Well, I think we're now at a time where it should just be pretty much standard, don't you think?
Well, I don't think it should be standard because it's quite expensive. I mean, unless everyone's kind of charging too much for it. But my understanding is that it's quite expensive. So I don't think it should be standard. But I'd love for the price to come down a little bit.
Well, isn't it with Jersey Jack machines that the standard doesn't come with it, but from the limited edition, collector's edition, that comes with it?
Yeah, and I think that was born because they were the first company to implement a massive LCD in there, and they didn't want the glare off the LCD. I've never actually tried a Wizard of Oz or a Hobbit with a standard piece of glass. I'm not sure if it makes it kind of, the top half of the playfield unbearable.
Because we actually don't. Well, so far we've not had the standard editions imported into Australia, so we've not seen them without Invisiglass. Yeah,
I'm not sure about Dialed Ins. I mean, I think Dialed In was the first one that Mr. Pinball actually made it available, but I don't think anyone went for it because, well, we'll get into it later, but there is no point in getting the standard almost. If you can afford the standard, the upgrade price is, the LA.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get the value there. It's not like you're getting a plaque. You're getting the stuff that's in there. But anyway, so they're doing their own version of Invisiglass. Shaker Kit will be developed, available as an add-on. Their initial setup is to produce 1,000 units. Do you think that's in this climate, Marty, that might be... Do you think they'll sell 1,000 units?
I mean, obviously it's really hard to know. When I look at that game, I think that just by its look and how I've seen it play, I think that competes with modern Sterns. So it could do. The theme's great. The layout's great. We'll get on to, when we talk about American Pinball later, build quality when we talk about Magic Girl. But from what we've seen of American Pinball and how they can manufacture a pinball, it's good quality. So maybe they can. It'll come down to, I think, the fact that they're a startup, so there's not so much brand equity. The theme might not necessarily appeal to everybody, and then it comes down to gameplay. So if you can get 10 out of 10s on all three of those things, then maybe, but I'm not sure they're all 10 out of 10s in each of those categories.
It's a funny thing because I think I've gone about it in a smart way because it is... they're not paying a licensor for Houdini because it's public domain, but it is still something that people can draw off and say, hey, I know Houdini.
Yes.
I want to buy that. So it's almost the best of both worlds because they have more freedom to do what they want, plus it helps with sales, I mean, look at Total Nuclear Annihilation. There's a big buzz about that, but I don't think they've sold 200 units yet. So, this is 5 times that amount. So it says they're set up, but I don't think they're going to buy 1,000 pieces of everything. They'll probably buy, as they need or in batches of 50 or 100.
Yeah.
But I guess their aim is to hit 1,000 units. And if they do, good on them.
Well, again, it's one of these tricky situations that they're in, because if they buy enough materials for 1,000 units, it's likely that they're actually going to get a lower bill of materials per machine. So, but then they've got to have the market for 1,000. So it's a bit of a tricky situation for them to be in.
Yeah, I think it's all about that's just business stuff. That's just negotiation with if you can kind of put a promise to buy 1,000 pieces, but 100 at a time. Usually a business is willing to lower their prices, but that's between them and that's business to business stuff. The weight of the game, 275 pounds. I just Googled while we were talking before what weighs, and that's 320 pounds. So it's still pretty heavy.
It's still pretty hefty.
It's not light.
What's that in kilos? Did you do that conversion?
No, it doesn't really matter. I just need to know it's like 50 less than Wizard of Oz, like 25 kilos less than Wizard of Oz. Well, because it's funny though, because everyone always shakes the machine like a Jersey Jack machine and says, "Oh wow, like this is built like a tank and this is so solid." And you kind of shake like a new Stern machine. You can kind of hear things. They're a lot lighter. You can hear things readily.
They are quite movable. And the answer to your question is 124.738 kilos.
Great. I can lift that.
That was just
now.
off the top of my head.
I've been going to the gym. I can lift that. They announced that their next game will be unlicensed. So
their first game's unlicensed. So,
well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's. Oh my god! Can you imagine if it's Alice in Wonderland?
Oh well.
Because that's public domain as well, and I just came to me then because I'm like, J-Pub wanted to do that, he wanted to do Houdini.
Well, yeah, well they could do, because if they are public domain, then anybody has the rights to it, even if Deep Root have got that. we have to accentuate that every time. Deep Root. There's no queue here. Whoever gets to it first gets to it. I don't know whether they would do that, because they wouldn't.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if two companies built the same machine at the same time? It wouldn't happen. They all know what they're doing, I think.
Well, yeah. Well, didn't Pinball Magic and Theatre of Magic come out at similar times?
Absolutely no idea.
Well, I think they did. I think they did.
All right, you keep on going down the list. I'll look it up.
You do that. So apparently there is a 90-day all-inclusive warranty and a 1-year monitor warranty.
Amazing. Really interesting stuff.
That's really not, isn't it? Parts available to buy direct and through distributors. Here's the big one, though. You ready? USB updates at Coindor.
Ooh.
Well, I know.
Don't all companies have that, mate?
Oh, don't be like that. Have you found out about Theatre of Magic yet?
Okay, Theatre of Magic was released in March 1995.
Yes.
And Capcom's Pinball Magic was October 1995.
So there you go.
So I guess they would have been in development at the same time. But
yeah, rumor has it that they were aware of each other doing a similar theme at the same time.
People love Magic pinballs. So the more the merrier, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like space themed pinballs. There's like a million space themed pinball machines because it's just something that people think is cool.
Yeah, cool.
All right, so that's Houdini, and I didn't write down when they're possibly going to ship, but we talked to Mr. Pinball yesterday, and he said that I think November was when he was going to get some of his. I'm not sure if that means shipped or landed, so they can't be too far away.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
All right.
So next on to Stern. Now, Stern, if you're listening, Stern, which we know you are, it was a really interesting showing for them at Expo. And I'm going to summarise it by saying this. and we talked about it last week about Pinball Expo being traditionally for it's an industry show, not necessarily for the end user or consumer. They really are now, I guess, showing their cards, their hand, really saying that they are pretty much focused on sighted machines, location pinball, distributors and operators. Wouldn't you say?
Are you talking about the magic formula?
We are talking about the magic formula. And what is that magic and very complicated formula that they announced at
Checking the notes here, I think it says pinball plus beer equals $$. Is that right?
That's pretty much what Gary Stern effectively said, is that if you put pinball in location and you serve beer, you will make more money. And
Cool.
he did, throughout the presentation, mention beer quite a lot. He also mentioned the fact that he likes vodka quite a lot. But it was everything they really talked about. And again, we are consumers, right? So we want them to talk directly to us. This presentation wasn't directed to us at all. And I think a lot of people were very disappointed by that, because we want us as consumers, the people that are there actually buying the machines at the end for our homes or whatever, we want them to make games for us. And really what they're sort of saying there is they don't. They make games predominantly to go on site so you can serve them with beer and make lots of dollars.
It's weird because this might sound a bit harsh, but every time Gary Stern makes a speech, or even sometimes George Gomez, and I really like George Gomez, but they're so business focused, which is good because you want them to make money. Every time they make a speech or a public statement these days, or at a talk at an expo, I really want to be a Stern shareholder. If I was a Stern shareholder, I would be cheering him and going, "Woo!"
Yep.
Like, just, cash those checks.
Yeah.
But I'm not, and it's a private company, so I can't buy shares in their company.
No.
When they make money, hey, yeah, it's good for pinball and everything, but just lie to me and tell me that I'm special and you care about my feelings. I know. That's what I want to hear.
I am absolutely the same as you, because at the end of the day, what we want, you and I, we are passionate. I'm laughing because it's an obvious statement to make. We are passionate about pinball, and the reason why I'm saying it's an obvious statement to make, we're so passionate about pinball that we spend 5 hours every Monday night talking and then editing a pinball podcast. So we love this stuff, and really what we want and what we enjoy is when we meet other people that are really passionate, and I mean people that are just living and breathing pinball and can talk for hours about pinball, and we want to meet other people that are just like that. Also, what we want is for people that are making our products that bring us so much joy, we want them to be as excited about pinball as well. And you know what? They're not. They're not really that excited about pinball. You could just tell.
Wait, okay, let's just dial it back a second.
Okay.
They didn't have anything to reveal there.
Sure.
When I was there last year, and George Gomez was there, he was like jumping out of his seat excited about Batman 66, and he was putting on a show, and it was hilarious, and he had just so much good pinball energy, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have anything to reveal, so you can't expect them to come out and say, "Woo, we did it, guys!" Like, there's nothing to reveal, and they knew that Jersey Jack was going to be revealing something, so their talk was before the Jersey Jack reveal, I believe. So I guess they were a bit somber, and it was a bit of a different mood because they were waiting to see what Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how much they care, but you can't.
I know what you're saying. Like it was, and God, I've been to so many corporate or business expos in my life. Like I would go to 3 or 4 of them a year. So I've heard many companies stand up and do a talk about their business and their industry. And so it was very much a business presentation, and I got that. What they could have done is spent a portion of that really focused on those people in the room that aren't industry, that are the end users, and get them all excited.
The problem is, I think they didn't have I mean, yeah, they didn't have a pinball to show, but they also didn't kind of have the code backup. Like, we were talking about it last week. We thought they were going to come on stage and be like, Batman 66 final code, bam! Ghostbusters code, bam! Aerosmith code, bam! And everyone's going to be like, woo, Stern loves us! And
what happened?
Even if it wasn't just the other ones, Batman's the only one that really matters, because we know the story about Batman. It cost more than any other machine, $2,000 more.
Yes.
They made their own class, a Super LE, which is now a thing, with the CE and the Super LE.
Yes.
And they made people make videos for it and beg for it, and then they increased the amount, and then they released the codes, and then it was missing, and they promised more code every 2 weeks, and they realized they couldn't do it every 2 weeks, and then there was silence, and they said, we'll update it when we can update it, because we don't want to release code every 2 weeks. And then it's Expo, you think, okay, they've been holding it back on purpose to get a bit of momentum, and they haven't even released the code yet. But there was Batman's on the floor,
yep,
and they were at 0.08, and what do we got here? We got, I think, what's in the 0.8 code? I wrote it down here somewhere, but basically they completed the major villains.
Yes.
But there's still no minor villains, and there's a couple of new modes, but it's almost like a slap in the face. And someone on Pinside, his username is JFH. I've never seen... He wrote a big post after the Jersey Jack reveal, and I think this guy might have been in on a Batman. And he didn't go crazy. It was just a well thought out post about the difference between the Stern presentation and the Jersey Jack presentation. And this guy, at the moment, it'll keep on going up, has 257 upvotes, which means people agree with him, right?
Yeah, right.
And guess how many downvotes he has?
10?
Zero.
Right,
Zero.
okay.
I've never ever seen a post that has so many people agreeing with it. Which it just proves this is not just me and you, Marty, that it was a weird showing for Stern, and I don't think they did themselves any favors. Keep in mind, we're all pinball people. We have fishbowl memories, and all Stern needs to do is release a new game, Guardians of the Galaxy, and people will forget easily. People are plugging their demise and going crazy, but. Yeah. I think it's just an off cycle for them, right?
Yeah, fair enough. And maybe because Jersey Jack was going to have such a strong showing, they're like, you know what? Let's not try and both compete. Let them have this next year. We'll have it, and we'll come to that in a second.
Where's the code? Where's the Batman code? What are they doing?
No, I know. But what they've said is there was a couple of interesting things. So George Gomez got the microphone, and he said that Lyman. He said, contrary to what people have been saying, he has only been working on Batman 66 code. So and we know what code he can do. That's a lot of time for Lyman to be on one machine. And I think at the detriment to other machines he could possibly be working on.
Well, he also kind of mentioned, I'd say I didn't watch the entire presentation, but I did catch this bit that we're talking about now. He kind of hinted that, if there was a problem with the licensor, or, if something wasn't allowed, or if it's a technical issue, they wouldn't say there was. They would just say, hey, we're working on it, and the code will be out soon. Which, I don't know if that's hinting that there is, a licensing issue, or, because they have to now deal with maybe Adam West's estate. I don't know. But... Yeah. It was interesting the way he worded it.
Yeah, okay. The other interesting thing, and we'll say this sort of the whole thing was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but what they actually said was, he said, myself and Lyman, they want to own this machine. They want to have this machine so good that it's worthy to take home. And then, because this was in the Q&A section, and then they put it to somebody else, and that next person said... would you want to take Kiss home? Which was...
No one laughed. I didn't hear anyone laugh.
It was a burn, wasn't it? It was almost this awkward silence that happened after. Did somebody really actually have the cheek to say that?
Well, because it was hilarious to me, because I was there last year, and no one burned anyone. There was all these, the American Pinball was there, and the J-pop thing was going on. When it's time to ask questions... us pinball people, we're just too nice, and no one wants to stick their hand up and ask that question. But this guy did, and thank you on the bottom of our heart, because I burst out laughing.
Yeah, I laughed as well. I just, it was almost like my jaw dropped. I kind of went, oh my God, you asked that? That is so cool. But,
because it is a weird saying, right? I mean, every machine they make should be worthy of, like, they should want all the machines. They should be loving the things they create, right? They shouldn't be producing anything that they don't think is worthy of taking home.
Oh, look, and I know, but that was just his way of saying,
It
don't
was.
worry, I want this game to be amazing. I've got your back. Was really what he was trying to say.
It's just like public relations 101. Like, don't put in your foot in your mouth. Like Gary Stern says something, 5 minutes later. Do you remember that one, Marty?
No, I did watch the whole thing, but what did he say?
Okay, so he was talking about Star Wars and how awesome it is, and he said, like, just look at the Star Wars. I'm paraphrasing.
Oh, that's
here,
right. Yes, I do know this bit.
Look at the Star Wars theme. It's so good, Like, you turn the machine on, you hear the John Williams theme, like, that could be it. You could ship it like a box, empty, kind of, and you would sell it just like that. Not that we would do that.
I know.
It's hilarious.
I know. And I know we're sort of jumping forward and back. We talked about Houdini, and we're going to talk about Pirates of the Caribbean now. And I don't want this to be a Stern bashing thing, because I do actually have a fondness for a lot of Stern machines.
100%.
But now when you look at Star Wars, I kind of look at it differently, and maybe we will in our show notes do a side-by-side, but it really shows now how empty that playfield is.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Star Wars, but you are right. I mean, it's very easy to poke fun and talk about Stern in a horrible way, because it's not tall poppy syndrome or anything, but they're the biggest guys in the room, so they always going to cop the biggest criticism. Like, I'm sure Williams back in the day copped a lot of criticism, and Data East probably copped less because they were the small guys. So I don't think they expect anything less, but it was a weird showing from the people that they claim that they're the biggest players in the market. All they need to do is release Batman codes. People knew they weren't going to release a new pinball machine, but they had to release Batman codes and be like, okay, a year ago we announced this, 1 year too early. This is the real, the re-release of it, but they couldn't even do that because the code wasn't ready yet.
No, I know. And so because they didn't really have any news. Let's face it, they actually didn't have any news, but they've still got an obligation to be at Pinball Expo. So really their angle was, and we talked about it before, that whole pinball plus beer equals dollars. And really, as I said, it was showing their...
good angle.
They had a slide and everything. But really what they're saying is, and again, it's saying, we are a manufacturer and we manufacture solid machines that you can put on location and they will take a beating and you will still earn money. That's what they were really saying.
My Stern games are going amazing on site. Not making as much money as the Jersey Jack one, but they have the least issues. Because,
that's right. That's, so as a commercial model, it makes sense. And, I think that, I don't know if everybody really knows the split between what Stern's home and operator market. Well, no, let me finish it.
They make it up, right?
But versus what Jersey Jack's home versus operator market is, because I can only talk about Australia, but we've got one Hobbit, maybe a couple of Hobbits, and maybe a Wizard of Oz, and that's it. There's no Jersey Jacks on site, whereas there are a lot of Sterns on site, and obviously they make more machines, but it really is highlighting that they are focusing their efforts on engineering pinball machines that break down less than other machines, I guess is probably what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But the challenge here is, and I think this is what people have been really calling out, that's fine. That's fine if that's your model for a pro. And maybe to a lesser degree a premium. But for a limited edition, and, well, let's say the Super LE was just a one-off, but for a limited edition, for that price point, I guess people really now are not seeing that value going up each of those levels.
I mean, them leaving stuff out of the pinball machine and the lack of theme immersion and the art, that's a different argument. We've talked about that to death. The biggest thing for me, I know this sounds stupid, is the shaker motor being left out, because that is something that is off the shelf.
Yep.
They've purposely not included because they know that people that with the LE are going to buy it anyway, so it gives them more profit. But the fact that it's not included in their highest model is the bit that kind of grinds my gears a little bit. Because just include it, because the people are paying a lot of money. It doesn't mean you have to fleece them.
No, that's right. But I said this before. We're coming from the consumer angle. That's our view. That's the lens that we look through. Is from us being collectors, and you being obviously more of a collector than I. Is what do you have in your home that makes you feel great and makes you feel that I don't know, $12,500, $13,000, whatever you've spent in Australian dollars is, that was money well spent.
Yep, and as I said before, if I was a Stern shareholder, I would be cheering from the rooftops. I'd say, yeah, let those LE guys buy the shaker motor. Like, screw them. Just, they're going to buy it anyway. But I'm not. I'm on the different side of the line. So I want them to include it, and I want them to really care and change their angle. And even if it's not the real angle, just lie to me. As I said, just lie to me. Don't sit in front of a big crowd and talk about you're a manufacturer, because we know you're a manufacturer because we buy your stuff, but we still want you to think about us, right?
And that's what I was saying. Like, maybe they could have had a portion of their presentation that talked about, what they're going to do. I mean, they mentioned Stern Army. I would say elaborate on that and actually show photos or video footage of some of those events and talk about the impact that promoting those events has had on those people holding those events.
Yeah, they do a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, this is it. This is what I'm saying. So it's interesting because they kind of are the old school, right? They are manufacturers. I know I'm repeating myself, but manufacturers, they're at, and technically, you can't see my inverted commas here, my air quotes, but they're at what is predominantly historically a industry event, and they're talking about business models and a commercial model. That's really what they're doing, and they probably just need to realize that they've actually now got two audiences there, and sadly, whichever way you look at it, the consumer audience is more vocal than the industry audience. And is it now that consumer audience is having a greater influence on the success of pinball? Who knows?
Well, we think it is because we live in the whole, forum bubble, but who knows what's, it's still making a lot of money, and props them for doing that.
Do you know what? It'd be really good if there is somebody, Australia, America, UK, Europe, wherever you are, if you want to write into us and talk to, as an operator that it is your sole income that you get is from operating machines, and I'd be really keen to hear a different view of this from an operator's point of view that says, actually, this is really good for my business and this is why I'm successful because of the Stern model. I actually feel that probably is the case, but we're not operators, so it's not, sort of doesn't appeal to us. Speak
to yourself, Marty. I've got bloody a million pinball machines outside.
You're a hobby operator.
Exactly. So, hey, you were talking about Super LEs before. Did you see the picture that I sent you? Of course you did.
I did. This is from Kapow, so we were mentioning that before.
Yeah, this was rumored anyway, but I think every 2 years they're going to plan a Kapow pinball release. So we had Batman last year, this year nothing. So in a year, and they advertised this.
Yes.
Kapow Pinball, we will make pinball history next year. You better start saving your pennies now. It's such a bad quote to put in the ad. You better start saving your pennies. It's just it.
Has anybody tried to analyze that message? What do they mean by pennies? Pennies equals something. Therefore, it's Harry Potter.
No, it just means it's going to cost a shitload of money.
Are they going to make people history by now, starting at 20,000?
We're going to make you send all the videos. You're going to have to be on your knees licking our toes to get this pinball machine. Anyway.
Well, I mean, didn't they already come out and ask people what themes they wanted.
Yeah, it was.
None of those are really going to rock my world.
Well, apparently, I mean, I think someone at Lou said it was. Well, this doesn't really give you much information, but the theme had never been done before, even in pokies. But I think he's involved in a lot of kind of like pokey gaming machine licenses. So
Yes.
I'm sure they have a shorter development time than pinball machines. So I guess we just have to kind of keep an eye on that, because I doubt it would be a pinball machine only. He would probably grab the license for everything. So I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what they usually do when they get a particular license. It's they get to choose. Well, I don't know whether they get to choose, whether that's the right word, but they can use it for multiple different things, and that's how the Wizard of Oz license came about. They actually had that for like a redemption
Coin dropper.
coin drop game, and then they sort of realised that they could actually use it for a pinball as well, and so they did.
Cool. All right, that's enough on Stern.
I'm done with Stern for now.
Yes. Let's talk about Jersey Jack Pinball.
Well,
Oh my God.
I mean, it wasn't really that hard for us to predict, but we did predict that Jersey.
We got it right.
We did get it
High
right.
five, high five,
So are people
high
going to
five.
write in and tell us that we got it right? I mean, it was pretty obvious. Well, we said that they were going to sort of really steal the show because they were doing a reveal. Now, unless it was a crappy game, anybody that was going to do a major reveal was probably going to win the show. In summary, for me, I didn't realise they were going to steal it so much.
Yeah, because of the whole Pirates of the Caribbean thing being like, not the hottest license at the moment, you know, like the franchise is pretty old. The movies aren't doing as well. I mean, they're still making $600 million.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing to be, to laugh at. But it's generally one of those things that people watch the first one and well, have you even watched them yet, Marty? God damn it.
I haven't watched them, but
Okay.
But
Well,
as I said,
wait,
I had
before-
committed to, but I will.
All
My
right.
commitment to you and to all our valuable listeners, my commitment to you is this time next Monday when we are recording, I
Yes.
will have watched 2 of the movies.
2?
I'm not
Okay.
going to watch all 5, but my commitment is that I'm going to watch.
All right, that's
2
4 hours
the
of your
movies.
life.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that,
This
I
is
think
10
that's a good
hours.
commitment.
Guess what, Marty?
What's that?
My good mate Mariko, right? I was talking to him today about this whole thing, and he found a video for me that will pretty much summarize Pirates of the Caribbean for you. So you don't need to watch them all. This is
Oh,
not
no,
gonna
I want to watch them.
Wait.
I do want to
Wait.
watch them.
Wait, Marty. Let me
Okay.
finish my bit. Okay, this is not going to spoil the movie for you. So, do you have your phone on you right now?
No.
Are you serious?
No, I do, but I don't want to be spoiled.
No. I told you this is not going to spoil anything.
Okay.
All right. Please put the. I want you to watch it next to your microphone so people can hear. Okay.
What am I typing in?
This is well. No, I'm just going to send it to you. Okay. Now,
Okay.
don't. Oh, no, it's. Oh,
Oh, it says request
get-
failed, unauthorized. Let's try
what
that
are you talking
again.
about?
Oh
no.
It's on Vimeo.
It's trying to open it. Click open.
Wait a second, here we go. Oh no! Oh no! I think that's enough for now.
It gets better. All
Are
right,
we gonna
anyway.
link that in show notes?
No. Okay, if you guys want to see it, it's highly inappropriate. Not safe for work. Not safe for anything. Okay, so I'm warning you. Don't Google this. But if you really want to see what I've linked to Marty, Google. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Google
Dong
Copter
Copter
Pirate. All right.
So that's Dong Copter is one word, and then pirate.
Like a helicopter, but don't watch
Dongcopter.
it. But it is Pirates of the Caribbean theme, but just don't do it. I saw this like 6 years ago or something. My mate linked to it, and we fought at work, and we were just laughing for days about it.
Well,
Anyway.
that 10 to 15 seconds was all I needed to see. And I do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're watching. Well, do you understand the Pirates universe more now or less?
No. What I saw from that is a naked man, just for those people that are just listening, and pirates in the background. So
the movie was playing in the background.
So what I've learned is pirates and men and anatomy. Okay. So I'm not sure I've learned anything new today.
Anyway,
that's hilarious.
Right.
Anyway,
that's for the series.
now to wow. Okay, Dongcopter. Anyway, hilarious. So, okay. So what was I saying? Back to this. I can't believe you said me that. Okay, so I don't know if anyone was, but we were, waiting for this reveal. This was at, Friday morning for us, and the images of the machine got leaked before the reveal. We have to say it, and we were both looking at that. I'm not saying where I got my images from, but Ryan sent them to me. And I looked. My first reaction to it was, that's kind of the color scheme reminds me of Wizard of Oz. It was my first thing that I said was, it kind of looks a bit Wizard of Oz. Now, when you're looking at these pictures, and they were only like the standard, 3/4 image, angle images, I kind of couldn't really make out the shots. I really couldn't make out the geometry. I just saw this playfield and I went, okay. It's Pirates of the Caribbean with Jersey Jack's great art style. But I wasn't necessarily really blown away. What did you think when you saw the pictures?
Yeah, same thing. Well, the first thing I tried to figure out was that, we got emails about it and kind of describing half of the playfield, but it didn't kind of it never translates. I mean, people try to describe the upper playfield. It rocks back and forth, kind of like the Indiana Jones by Williams. But it was nothing like that.
Well, so when I saw those pictures, I was looking for this area that looked like
Path of Adventure.
And I was going, well, I can't see that anywhere, and there's nothing on the top left-hand side. So people have been feeding us lies again.
Yeah, and I know I was in charge of. I sent it to a bunch of people, but I was almost a little bit upset. I didn't post it publicly anywhere because it was so close to the reveal, and they kind of kept it secret for so long that I didn't want it kind of out there. But I kind of soon then realized there was no point. You can't keep a secret on the internet. And what they did is they run the same software that we run for our website. They run WordPress,
right?
A modified version of it. And all they did was they left their, when you upload photos, it uploads photos in a directory which is the year and the month. And they left the directory open. You're meant to change the permissions so that you can link to the files, but you don't. But the permissions, like the Linux permissions on their server, were wrong. So someone found it, and it was a free for all.
Similar to what happened to us recently when we realized we realized very later on that whenever we upload podcasts to the directory, you can actually get to them from our website. And there were a couple of interviews that we haven't released, nor will we released, that were up there.
Yeah.
Anyway, lesson to be learned. We've learned from it. So that's probably what happened.
But it was a great reveal compared to last year where we got with Dialed In, that it was kind of filmed last minute on Periscope, and I don't think they kind of rehearsed the talk, and Pat Lawler was kind of talking about like leg levelers and stuff that people didn't really care about. They wanted to see the game, and because it was an original theme, it was harder to release the game. But who's the designer? Can you announce him, please? Because you're better at names than I am. We practiced this before, Mark.
Eric Minier.
That's it?
Is that right?
I'm pretty sure that's right.
I hope so.
So he's 29 years old. His story is that he's been involved for pinball pretty much his entire life.
He's 4.
Yeah, so he doesn't know anything but pinball. And he used to be en route cleaning and fixing machines with his family, his dad and his brother. And so he knows pinball. He lives and breathes it. But he went to university and did like a robotics engineering degree. And I'm pretty sure he was planning to kind of like go out into the workforce and separate finally from his business. And he applied for Jersey Jack kind of. I'm not sure who approached who. Do you remember that part of the story, Marty?
I think he might have been in a seminar and saw the launch of
Wizard
of Oz and sort of understood the story of what Jack's trying to do, then got his resume together and sent it off to Jack, and then a couple of weeks later he said, yeah, sure, come on board. And I think he was sort of head of their engineering and was making sure that the machines actually were put together and each of the parts were built.
Yeah, and when they hired Pat Lawler, I think they kind of realized that they can't have Pat Lawler design every machine. It needs to be Pat Lawler and then someone else, and they would kind of cycle through those two designers. So he put his hand up, and he wanted to design his first machine. And I don't know about you, but did you see the confidence in his body language and his presentation? It was just insane. And he kind of said in an interview, and I can't remember which interview this is, I'm sorry, because I watched 3 interviews with him this week, but he kind of said that he wasn't nervous at all because this is pinball, and he loves pinball, he knows pinball people. And that was just like, wow, that's almost how I feel like in an empty room, not an empty room, so a room packed full of people I don't know. I don't feel nervous at all because it's pinball, right? And that kind of really spoke to me, and I was kind of glad that he was so confident in his delivery of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, also what he was saying was that this is one of the cool parts of the story, is that Pat Lawler taught him how to build parts for pinball. So you're going to learn from the master. And this guy, what he also said is that, because he has been in a business where they're routing pinballs, the most important thing he looks at is the quality control on the machines and how you service them. So he's got all of that in his mind when he's building this machine. All he's got to focus on is making sure that he's got a machine that plays fun.
Yeah, and even though he had a kind of an engineering background, he did attribute a lot of the really cool things about Pirates of the Caribbean to the Jersey Jack team. It's never a one-man effort, as much as we kind of like to say it with Star Wars and Steve Ritchie. There's a lot of people that design a pinball machine.
Yeah.
And let's just say it. Jersey Jack with this Pirates of the Caribbean reveal they've raised the bar to almost an unreachable level for anyone else, because. Yep. They've blown everyone away, because no one was expecting a machine this overwhelming and amazing and so well thought out, and it's making people that had no interest at all in buying a Pirates of the Caribbean themed pinball machine put their money down for it, and that's kind of in stark contrast of people that are absolute Star Wars nuts that refuse to buy. Not everyone, but there's a lot of people that I know that are just insane Star Wars fans. And they collect memorabilia, but they didn't want Star Wars in their house because they thought it was a bit of a miss with theme integration and whatnot. So that's the effect that this launch has had. And as it's almost not fair for anyone else, because I don't think anyone is willing to do what Jersey Jack is doing in terms of code and the things that were in there. And this machine is packed.
Yeah. And
what does it have in it?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So if you think about most pinball machines, and we are generalizing, of course, but if you think about it and they say, there's toys, or there is a feature, or there's something that's cool in the pinball machine, usually you'll have 1, maybe 2, 3, if you're really lucky, cool things that stand out in a pinball machine. So we're going to go through some of the features of this machine, which has so many cool things, and cool things that haven't been seen in pinball before. And I was thinking about this today. It's not just about the fact that you've got all these different cool things. You've got to make them all work together. And you've also then got to build a rule set on top or underneath, whatever you want to do, that actually works and organically integrates all these different things together. And that's what I think is the magic of this machine. So I'll start with one of the things, and probably the first thing for me that you stare at is the spinning discs in the middle of the playfield.
Yeah, when I kind of heard about the spinning disc, I was like, I don't I don't really like spinning discs because they're really just brittle magnets, like magnets that you can see. Like, we're here to mess with your ball and try to go straight down the middle. And it is cool when you have multi-ball nail going around, but when you have one ball and it's spinning. But this is a different type of spinning disc because this is 3 independent discs. So this is a disc inside a disc inside a disc. So there's 3 of them. They all spin in different directions, and they can also spin at different speeds. They can also turn one of them off. They also award mystery, and they have lights in them. And I'm thinking about this mech, and I'm like, oh my god, this is going to be like that Batman mech with the spinning
rotisserie,
disc. And that was when George Gomez got that on the stream. It was like the biggest mech you've ever seen. And then you look at it, and it's just like engineering, like engineered from the gods or something. The pinball gods. It was just absolutely just the smallest form factor, and it just sounds amazing, and it doesn't really mess with your ball in the same way. It adds a random nature to the ball, but I don't think I saw one kind of like straight down the middle. It wasn't like Magic Girl, that little spinning disc. Magic Girl.
It did seem that it was getting traction with the ball, but it wasn't. And I think it's because of the rings, particularly when they're all moving, and because they're concentric circles, so they're all sort of moving at different angles. It sort of makes the ball sort of zigzag a bit, but doesn't necessarily fly it off in opposite directions.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly how it's integrated into the game, because it seemed that sometimes it would start when you plunge the ball straight away, and sometimes it would start when you kind of activated a mode. So the code is still very early. They did mention it's about at 20%. And that is crazy that it is at 20% because there's already so much in there. But we'll kind of see, more about that later on. And it might be one of those things where you see it a lot at the start of the game, kind of like the beast pop-ups in Hobbit, where it's kind of like overused at the start because they want people that put money into the machine to see that straight away, and then it kind of calms itself down when you're 5 minutes into the game. So we don't know yet.
So what was the second thing that really stood out?
It's the boat. It's the Black Pearl. And the coolest thing about the Black Pearl is that because the Black Pearl, it's the back of the ship, and there's a lot of stuff to that because the ball would sometimes just magically appear on there. I'm like, where did it come from? And then I kind of you learn later on, but there's a scoop in the background that will kick the ball up. So there's 2 entrances to the upper playfield. You shoot the right ramp and it'll get up there. And there's a scoop at the back, I think, after a loop shot, I think. And there's 2 exits. So one is a cannon. And this is the crazy thing, is that there's like, what? There's a cannon? There's
a cannon as well.
We asked for the cannon, so thanks for putting that in.
Thank you. It's because of us.
It's funny because you're thinking about games like AC/DC and Terminator 2, and the cannon is like not the only thing on there, but it's like the big primary thing. There is so many damn things on this pinball machine that you don't even see the cannon because it's at the back of the ship, and cannon.
But don't forget with this ship, right? So the most important thing about this ship is that it's rocking left and right like you are on a ship, and that's great. That sounds cool on paper. This as an upper playfield could be, oh god, I am going to do the parallel. This could be like the upper playfield on Game of Thrones, where you get it up there once, it's cool. You get it up there a second time, it's like, oh, I'm just doing the same thing. Because this rocks left and right, it randomizes the game, and I just saw people playing this, and every time it went up there, people would just smile.
The coolest thing, I thought it looked fun, but the bit that was missing for me, and this is going to be fixed, which is what made me so happy, is that it was shaking left a lot, but not right. Yes. And they said they're going to fix that. The code will get there. Because when someone tried to trap up the ball on the right flipper, because it went left so much, the ball would just leak out.
Yeah.
When they were trapping on the right flipper, they could sit there and it could be trapped. So if it rocks enough that you can't trap the ball, that's what really makes it fun. If the ball's staying up there too long, it's not fun. It's not fun. But from what I understand, in some of the modes, you hit all the flashing lights. There's 2 spinners on there with a loop shot, which is just crazy. Like, how much stuff do you want on an up play field?
Yeah.
It's like a mini pinball in itself. Once you hit all the shots, you qualify this kind of this little area, the cannon shot. You hit the ball in the cannon, And then what happens, Marty? The cannon, it's like the cannon on AC/DC, but instead of going left and right,
it's going up and down.
Up and down. And what are you shooting for, Marty?
So you're now shooting another ship over the other side of the playfield, and it's sort of elevated as well. But because it's going up and down, you've got to time it just at the right time so it actually hits. I don't know whether it's the front or the back of this boat.
It's just the side.
Yeah.
The broadside.
Yeah.
And
It
if
is
you
so cool.
get it in, then I believe you start like a certain multi-ball. And it is insane to think that's just like one of many. There's so many other things. We're going to spend like a million years talking about this pinball machine. Yeah, that's freaking cool. If that was the only toy on this entire pinball machine, people would say, cool, I want it. But there's more. So this is what they said in the presentation. So we got 13 unique shots, 6 diverters, 27 targets, 2 outlane skill saves, a rocking up play field, 2 magnets, 2 subways with 5 different entrances, over 230 RGB LEDs, and 3 slingshots. There's pop bumpers in there. They said that didn't include the spinning disc.
I think there's also 5 flippers, isn't there?
Yeah, 5 flippers. And you would think with all this stuff in there that the game would play like an absolute dog, but as soon as they revealed it, the bro guys that did an awesome job with the stream, they started playing it just like one of their own streams straight away. Yep. And this thing plays fast. It's got to be close. It's got to be closest to the fastest wide body that I've seen. My only one that probably plays a little bit faster is Demo Man, but that's with putting it up on like a 8.5 degree angle.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what angle this was set up on, but you can tell that Eric spent time making sure that this game plays as close to a standard body as possible.
And right? You know what? If it wasn't just good enough to have Kevin and Nick, and they're great players, they also then you saw them just get Steve Bowden in. Hi, Steve. Yep. And so that's showing all skills because he's obviously one of the top players. And even he was just having an absolute ball playing it.
Yep, and they had Keith Johnson there explaining some of the rules. But when you don't have someone, Marty, explaining all the rules to you, how else can you find out what to shoot for?
That is such a really good question to ask. So here's another thing that is, you kind of just think, why hasn't this been done before? So what you've actually got now on the apron, sort of, underneath the flippers, you've actually got a little, what is it, like 4x3 LCD screen.
Yep.
And it's, what are they saying? It's like it's your heart's desire. So it's
yeah,
basically...
You'll learn that when you watch the movie, and I might rewatch the movies as well because I think you enjoy Pinball Machine more when you kind of like got that movie in your mind. But Jack Sparrow has a special compass. And it doesn't point north, south, east, west. It points to whatever his heart desires, whatever his heart wants the most. And sometimes he doesn't know what he wants. So this is pointing to the shot that is possibly the most valuable, or it might start a multi-ball. They're going to balance it out, and they're kind of having internal talks about it. This is like the programmer, Keith Johnson, standing over you saying, hey, shoot this now. Yep. This is the best shot in the game.
Yep.
So I think it's great, right?
Yeah, forget the rule card. Don't need it. You just need to look at this, and it points to your shot. Oh, that is very cool. And when Eric was talking about it today, I mean, it's really interesting that it's in its simplest form. You can say, oh yeah, it's going to point you to the obvious shot. Yeah, but what if you've got multi-ball lit and you've got extra ball lit? Which one would you go for? How does it know which one is more important to you?
Well, I mean, it'll be. I said that's what they're discussing.
That's what they're going to work out.
They have to make a hierarchy. They're literally going to get an Excel spreadsheet, and they're going to say extra ball is worth 100 points. Starting multiple is worth 95, and everything will literally have a ranking. And then when everything's lit, it'll just say, all right, whichever one has the highest number, that's what's going to point to.
Yeah, and I think that's probably in its simplest form. I think there are some situations in a game where that might not work, but you don't have to follow the direction of this compass. You can still play it whichever way you want, but I think that is very clever.
Let's call it the Keith Johnson hard compass.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's really where Keith Johnson was at the point. I trust him. I trust Keith Johnson.
And what they've also got is a chest that opens up. So it's sort of the way you open up. It's got sort of two stand-up targets with an entrance underneath. So similar to white water to light the locks.
Circus Voltaire as well.
Yeah, Circus Voltaire, exactly. And then it's got like a physical ball lock. So it kind of, I'm not sure how this works, but it kind of must flip underneath it, and then you kind of see the ball go into the chest.
I couldn't make sense of it from the photos and some of the videos. This literally is one of those games where you have to see it in person.
Yep.
To believe it, because the top-down view, as awesome as the stream was, when you're doing the loops from the upper flipper, I was just like, hey, where's the ball going, and where's it coming back? And it's pinball magic. This game is packed. And
it kind of reminds me of, if you think about in the premium and limited edition Metallicas, how you've got the the multi-ball under the playfield. What is that one called? Coffin. So it's kind of imagine that mech, but raised up. So all three balls will actually then be locked next to each other, and then they get released. But it's kind of like there's, dare I mention it, kind of like, those reverse ramps that you've got, like in the old Pirates of the Caribbean. It sort of reverses it up into that
I know
chest.
what you mean.
Yeah.
So what else does it have? We're almost ready to talk about the software, but it has an action button.
Yep.
And the action button is used for things like collecting coins, because you're a pirate, you're plundering gold. Pirates need money. So basically, I think you make a shot, and like money will kind of, like a gold will appear on the screen. You have to press the button to collect it. Now,
let's call it.
Is it TIE Fighter?
It's TIE Fighter. It's TIE Fighter, but it's not as urgent as the TIE Fighter. You can pretty much grab it in time.
No, you can't.
Well, because once you get 50, it then starts multi-ball.
No, you then can start multi-ball.
Right. Yes.
Or you can keep on going. So it's the whole risk reward.
Yeah, that's right. But the problem with
you have, the more points you get.
But the problem with TIE Fighter, when that countdown happens, if you don't get it, then you have to light it again. With this one, it's still sort of, it's not so urgent, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Guess what, guys? If you don't like the action button on pinball machines, you're not going to buy any more pinball machines, because almost every new machine is going to come out with an action button. It just seems like it's the next thing for pinball, because you get more interaction, especially with an LCD screen, if you can have the two flipper buttons and an action button to do other things. Am I right?
Yeah, you are absolutely on point there. But the other thing, it's not necessarily a toy, but I kind of like what they've done with it, where they've got the Maelstrom, which is, if you think about, what is it, Creature from the Black Lagoon has one.
Yep.
I think Mustang has one as well. One of those sort of, funnels where the ball can go around. But what I like about this is if you hit it up that ramp quick enough, this is on the left side of the playfield, it will actually come back to a ramp or a habit trail back to the flipper. But if it's not strong enough, it will then go into the funnel and then down into the Maelstrom.
I think there's possibly also a diverter on there. Yeah. So if you fail the shot, it's going to go down there. But if it wants the ball to go down there, it will go down.
That's cool.
Very cool. And you might be thinking that this game is an absolute nightmare to service, especially with that upper playfield, because upper playfields are very notorious, except for the one on the Shadow, which we did an episode on, and I was talking about how I was dreading just putting LEDs in there, and it was like one screw. Now, the upper playfield with all the stuff that's in there is also one screw. Absolutely amazing engineering, and thank you for that. It wasn't Eric; he attributed it to someone else who I've forgotten. But you literally just unscrew one screw, and the playfield slides out, and you can remove the whole upper playfield to clean underneath or to service it. So this guy, as I said, he's been involved, Eric, with pinball his whole life. He's on our side. He's on he's on the side of the people that want action-packed, loaded pinball machines that are easy to service and feature. I don't know. Can you tell I'm excited about it? My excitement had weared after a couple of days, but talking about it now, I'm excited again about this machine.
Well, probably just and we're going to head into rules now as well, but it still is a feature of the playfield, and they talked about this on the Buffalo Pinball podcast, and when I saw a photo of this, I just said to myself, oh, well, of course, where you can physically and visibly see how many tilt warnings you've got on the playfield. On the right-hand outlane, just sort of near the apron, it actually lights up and tells you how many tilt warnings you've got. That is cool. That is just, it's simple. It just should always been there. And my from what we heard from the interview was, I think they had a couple of I don't know, two sort of extra features that they could put in there. And Keith said, well, if you've got that, give me tilt warnings. And that's what we did.
Yeah, it's a Jersey Jack for a while, ever since The Hobbit, has been trying to create pinball machines where you don't need to hold down the left flipper to see anything. People are confused by the Hobbit backlash, but I think it's the most perfect integration of a screen, because I can see everything that I need to know immediately. I look up, I know exactly what to do, right? Whereas when I'm in AC/DC, right? Yeah. I want to get jam multi-ball going. If I shoot the left ramp, it pops up and says, "Hey, you got 5 more to go" or something. Yep. If I shoot the left ramp and it's something else is going on, something else will show, and I have to shoot the second time, and then it'll show me. Or I have to hold the flipper down and then wait 10 seconds and then cycle through. So this is just another piece of the puzzle where you can play a pinball machine without stopping. It's just like everything, when you play pinball, it's a crazy experience because there's so many things going on. You're getting overloaded by flashing lights, sound, a mechanical experience. This is just one more thing that kind of keeps you in that zone without breaking you out. I like it.
Yeah. And so before we just do go into the rules, what do you think of the overall art style?
As I've mentioned a million times before, I'm not one to be offended by... The only time I was ever offended by art really was Game of Thrones. Yep. And Star Wars, I don't think it looks that bad, but I do like the art. I thought it was kind of like a Photoshop job, but we did find out later that each character, all 22 of them, were individually drawn, so they are hand-drawn, and each of the 22 actors had to sign off on their likeness, which is crazy. So it does prove that you can work with Disney if you want to, work around Disney. But I mean, there were other licensing issues that they had. Do you want to talk about that quickly before we move on to the rules? So one of the biggest things that I dislike about the Stern Pirates of the Caribbean, because I'm such a nut for kind of like sound and jackpot call-outs, is that there is no jackpot call-out. And I asked a number of times on the forums, why it's not there. And David Thiel kind of said that the licensor, Disney, didn't want to approve it. And I thought it was because they didn't want, the word jackpot. I think, it was related to gambling or something. But Eric said that it's because the word jackpot wasn't... did you see this interview, or did I just tell you about it?
You told me about it.
Okay, yeah. The word jackpot wasn't around in the time period that Pirates of the Caribbean is meant to represent, like the 1700s or whenever it was. It was created 100 years later. And they kind of negotiated, and they said, well, hey, it's a pinball machine. This is not, this is not a movie. We need jackpot call-outs, and we need the word jackpot to be in there. And they conceded. So that was really good. I'm glad the word jackpot is in there.
Yes.
You do need, you can't have a pinball machine that you have waves crashing, which is what happens in the CERN one. It drove me crazy. I think you would say that the words jackpot is lit, I think, but when you hit a jackpot, it would just make a sound. That wasn't someone screaming jackpot at the top of their lungs. The other thing is that even though Jack Sparrow and all the other characters have a visual representation on there in hand drawing, there is no sequences, I believe, no video sequences where they could show their face, I believe. Like, they can have them running away from something, but they couldn't have them, like, sitting there having a conversation with someone, I believe. That wasn't part of the license. And I believe there might be no audio so they can use video assets, but they can't use audio assets from the movie, I believe. I might be wrong on that one. But they did get a guy called Mr. Gibbs, and you'll find out who he is, Marty, when you watch the movie. But basically, he's Jack's right-hand man. He's the guy he recruits in the first movie to kind of be his second in charge.
Right, okay.
He's the guy doing the call-outs, and they recorded, I think, over 1,000 call-outs. And when you watch the video, if you watch the reveal video, or you watch almost any other video, the sound quality is good, but you've got a million people talking in the background. And when you use those snowball mics that you use, Marty, it picks up everything.
Yeah.
There is one really good video from Zach from Straight Down the Middle where he just had his mobile phone next to it, and you can really hear this machine, and it sounds absolutely amazing. The call-outs are already there. He tells you exactly what to do. Whenever the ball is returning to the flippers, shoot the chest, shoot the right ramp, shoot the left ramp. It's very intuitive.
Well, there you go. Well, so speaking of rules, it wouldn't be a great Jersey Jack. Well, I mean, I know it's all subjective, but it's great to have great art, so many things on the playfield, but then to just add to a whole new level, we've gone and got Keith Johnson to do the rules, and in true Keith Johnson form, he's gone all out and made very deep, I don't know whether you'd say complex, it's probably as complicated as you want it to be, but I mean right from the outset, you've got 22 characters to choose. Let's say it's like choosing a house in Game of Thrones, but there's 22 characters to choose, and each one of them has a unique ability, and I believe if you're playing multiplayer, no two people can choose the same character, which would be interesting.
Yeah, so in Game of Thrones, people usually choose the same one, or apparently between two. I always choose Martell.
Sure.
Apparently there's another one that's better.
There's two. It depends on situation, whether you're playing for fun and high points, or whether you're in competition.
Yeah. So if you choose, I think it's called a captain. If you choose a captain, the player 2 can't choose the same captain.
That's right.
And I think there'll be 2 sets of rules, one for tournaments and one for just home use, because there's crazy things that you can do, like you can steal people's, you can plunder. Sorry, not steal. You can plunder people's points, their balls. You can steal a lot of things and disable their characters, have to choose another character. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do, and of course in a tournament environment those would be disabled because that wouldn't be fair. But I guess it's a giant balancing act to get everything kind of, there isn't one person that has just this insane advantage over everyone else.
And so do we want to go through each of the 22 perks that you get from each character?
We do, because we didn't record an episode straight away like a lot of other people did, so we don't have any. We got our unique opinion on these machines, but we don't have any unique information except for these 22 perks. This is a world first. So I'll do the first 11. You can do the last 11. So and these, sorry, before I start, these perks align with the character that you're choosing. So there's a character called Salazar, who's the villain in the last movie, number 5, and when he raids a ship, he just kills everyone except for one person, and that's why the movie has the name Dead Man Tell No Tales, because if you kill everyone, then someone will say, hey, what the hell happened here? If you leave one person alive, he's there to tell the story. So his perk is that if you're playing multi-ball and you have a multi-drain, which happens a lot, well, not all the time, but it happens. It happens. If you have 3 balls go down at the same time, or 2 balls go down at the same time, I'm guessing there's going to be a timer, like within 2 seconds, both balls drain, or within 5 seconds, you will get one of those balls back. That ball is the man that will tell the tale to the rest of the other balls when he gets back. That's number 1. Once a ball, while the ball is on the upper playfield, the Black Pearl, you can add a ball into the game. Jack Sparrow's is remove the worst mystery awards, because Jack Sparrow, as you'll find out, Marty, is a very lucky guy. Cannot be plundered, longer multi-ball saver, spot 1 female per chapter, keep some gold after Tortuga multi-ball has expired, more time for chapters, spot character always lit during chapters, easier multi-ball rules, pick your chapter so it's not random. And the other 11, Marty?
So you've then got, 12 is easier chest rules, 13 is spot pirate lanes, 14 is you get more gold, 15 is spot 1 male character per chapter. We've got to say that chapters effectively is modes, they're calling them chapters in this. 16 is easier pearl motion, 17 is easier multi-ball for starts. Easier multi-ball
4. I think that means like the multi-ball that has got to do with movie number 4.
Right, okay, yep. 18 is Tortuga is more valuable. 19 is a chapter is always lit. 20 more combo time. 21 liar's dice, and 22 easier chapter rules.
Yeah, so Lies Dice bonus that was meant to be. Sorry, I left that out. So there's a lot of choice, but this is the thing, guys. I mean, a lot of people might be overwhelmed with it and say, "Hey, this is too complex." Like all games, like I've watched people play Star Wars nonstop, and no one uses the multiplier.
Yeah.
Like 95% of people, you don't have to. You can choose the person you think is the coolest. It doesn't really matter. It's a pinball machine, so the strategy is up to you, right?
Well, yeah, but when you think about it in a tournament setting, and the parallel I'll say again is to Game of Thrones, where there were all those different houses that you could choose, but effectively, after a while, everyone said just pick Martell so you can do an add-a-ball and multi-ball, or pick Greyjoy so you can then get high scores, or whatever the other ones were. So everyone just eventually just chose the same thing. With this, particularly in multiplayer, because you can't pick the same thing, you have to probably have, your backup captain just in case you don't get to pick the one. Or if you're looking at the people that you're playing, situationally, you might actually pick something else because that may be an advantage depending on who you're playing or depending on which order you're in. There's so many.
I can tell you right now, just once add a ball onto the play field when the ball is on the pearl. I would choose that one immediately because that's literally multi-ball just by shooting one ramp and pressing the button. And I would use that almost straight away as a safety net, and you can just cradle one of the balls. You can almost cradle it in the upper playfield. Well, no, you can't because it would just shake it off.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what the best is.
And I think this is a potential attempt at randomness because we mentioned sort of chapters being modes. There are 105 chapters to play through, but when you start the game, I think you get 5 chapters for each movie, so you've got 25 modes that are randomly selected each game.
Yeah, so the whole spiel about this during his presentation, Eric, is that you will never play the same game twice because of the character selection and because of the chapter selection. You will never play the same combination of modes ever. I mean, it would be like an absolute miracle. I think the number was 16. It's a high number, okay? It's a number that you never use. It's over 1 billion. So it's almost like you made up the number, right?
Yeah. Let's just face it. It is almost completely random.
And it's almost like the opposite of and it's funny because Total Nuclear Annihilation is kind of hitting the shores and that is almost the opposite, and people still having fun doing it. It's just you're doing the same thing over and over again. You're starting the reactor, overheating it, and blowing it up. Yeah. Whereas this is 105 different chapters, and I really wonder why I've reached out to them, but I haven't heard back yet. Are they just using chapters because it sounds cool, or are they slightly different than modes? Do they not want to use the word modes so they don't want to overwhelm people, or I don't know.
It could be that mode is very much a pinball term, whereas chapter is fitting with the theme. And when you hear the interview with Eric, he is really talking about the whole immersion experience. And again, I'll come back to Star Wars, which was the biggest criticism that we had was Star Trek art was there and it had ramps and it had a ball, but you weren't really immersed into the story. This is all about immersion.
It is insane because that spinning disc we talked about before, it isn't just a spinning disc. It represents a map, I think, in the second or third movie, which kind of moves in a similar way. So everything in this movie was kind of like very well thought after, down to the character perks, to the playfield art, to everything. It's crazy to think that I don't know. It's as I said, this is a new bar that's been set, so it's very overwhelming to soak it all in because it's never been done before. No one, you can say, "Oh, hey, this is like packed just like Wizard of Oz." No, this is 5 steps further. Yep. This is the most intense pinball machine that anyone's. As I said, you would think my number one fear when he was going through all these things before on the presentation is, "Oh my god, it's going to play like crap," because how can you have all these things? But it doesn't look like that at all. People said it plays amazing and it plays fast, and there's a repeatable inner loop shot, kind of like the Shadow. Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't have the call out wow 3-way combo, but maybe they'll get that guy to add it in.
Well, can I also just note as well, just another cool feature. It's not necessarily a toy, but on that, let's call it the upper left flipper, which is kind of, halfway up the playfield.
Yep.
If you hold that flipper up, there's actually a hole underneath it. So a subway underneath it. That's cool.
We've also missed so many things. I'm serious, guys. We've missed the spinning pop bumper guy. So when you hit the pop bumper, there's a pirate that spins around on it. Another thing we missed is the out lanes situation.
Yes.
So on a pinball machine, on a pinball machine, the leftmost lane is usually the drain lane, the out lane. But on this game, it's the subway eject. There's a subway exit that throws the ball down there, and it'll loop down to your left flipper very fast. The lane to the right of that is the out lane, just like the old 80s, like Fathom.
Like Fathom.
And it's going to take me a while to adjust to that because I didn't play pinball machines in the 80s.
And also, the other one that's kind of like that isn't. It is similar. I was going to say Indiana Jones, the right one.
The narrow escape you're talking about?
It's a bit like
the narrow escape is the other way. Instead of putting it into your flippers, it's going to the... Isn't it going to the shooter lane? I didn't see anyone use that properly, but there's 2 ball saves on apparently on both out lanes. I haven't seen the left one, how it works yet. What else are we missing? There's a lot of other stuff we're missing.
You know what? I think for now, I think we've probably said enough, and probably the next thing for everybody to do after they've gotten to the end of this episode is go to the Brody Ueven Pinball, or Buffalo Pinball stream. We'll actually link that in the show notes, and just go and watch it and just be in awe as we are. Sure, we're probably going a little bit over the top, but this excites me, seeing something that just seems to have everything advanced so far and work so well. And as everyone said, it's a fast game, it's a flow game. It's looking pretty good.
I wouldn't say flow.
Well, people say, it's fast, yeah.
I think flow games are attributed to games like Star Trek and Whitewater, where you've got kind of like
everything returning to the flipper.
Yeah, you can't have all that stuff on there and expect it to be a flow. But
I think there are a lot of combo shots here. So you go through the almost like to the right of the right ramp, it'll return around to the flipper. The left orbit goes to the flipper. There are some flow shots. You've got that inner loop that we talked about as well. So I think for a wide body like this, I think they've incorporated a lot of stop and start as well as flow.
How much does one of these babies cost, Marty?
Oh, I don't have the price on me.
Okay, I've got it here.
Go for it.
All right, so if you're in the US, a standard version costs you $8,500. An LE costs you $9,500. The CE, which is the collector's edition, costs you $12,500. I got a rumor today that this collector's edition is almost sold out. I'm not sure if there's any truth to that, but with every Jersey Jack machine, the toys and the things that the ball interact with are exactly the same on all models. So if you're at the entry level, I call it the entry level, but it's a lot for Jersey Jack machines.
Yes.
Or the elitist level, the collector's edition, you're going to get the same experience. You're not missing out on anything. This is not like a chopped down version. But as the market dictates, there are people that want more and more and more. So there's 200 collector's editions, and it's got, unlike Dialed In, where they introduced the collector's edition, this has a different artwork style on the playfield. It's not too different.
Well, it's got the Davy Jones theme.
Yeah, so if you don't like seeing Jack Sparrow's head, you've got a tentacle monster in there instead.
Correct. And did you like how I said it's Davy Jones theme, like really confidently, like I know who Davy Jones is? I'm just letting you know before we started recording, I did Google Davy Jones just to be sure that tentacle octopus face man is Davy Jones.
He is terrifying. He's so terrifying that when the leaked picture came out, before I sent it to you, Marty, I grabbed my phone and I was having breakfast with my kid at the table. I said, "Check this out, new pinball machine," and she saw Davy Jones and she started crying. And it's literally just started crying. She's 6 years old, and I remember when I had the Stern Pirates of the Caribbean in my house, I had to put a post-it note over the translite over Davy Jones because it used to make her cry. I don't know what it is. It's like a bookie monster. So, I'm not sure how I'm going to get this pinball machine in my house. But
and so the other things that it's got on the theme, it's got barnacles on the I think the apron, on the side of the apron. But the coolest thing that it's got is the topper.
Yeah, it didn't look that great from far away. It just kind of looked like this giant bottle. But when you zoomed in, you could see that it was a moving ship with waves.
Yep.
Inside a water bottle. So that is the Black Pearl, and you'll learn about that theme integration when you watch the movie, because it does mean something. So there's only 200 of them. This machine, I mean, you might scoff at the price and say $12,500 US, which I think in Australia is 18,000 US.
18,000.
If you can't afford this pinball machine, then it's that one isn't for you. It's for people that have a lot of money and they want something special, and this is something special. Yep. There isn't an extra $3,000 worth of stuff in that pinball machine. The value isn't there. The value is in its collectibility, the collective nature of it. Yep. And so don't get offended by it. It's just like the Super LE. It's just there's obviously a market for super high-end pinball machines, regardless of what it has in it. It's just people want to feel like they have something, the best of the best.
And so, could you let our listeners know which one did you put your money down on?
As I've said before, I've banned myself from buying more pinball machines. So, but we are playing it in a week, and we'll get to that a bit later on.
We are.
So I might be swayed. But...
Okay, so we're going to talk about Flip Out in a second because we get to play it. We actually get to play this in a week, which is very exciting. That's one of the reasons why I want to watch the movies, because right now, as much as we have just absolutely gushed all over this machine, I don't really want to buy it just yet. So okay. I want to, obviously because I want to play it, but the theme doesn't call to me because I've not seen the movies. It's completely alien.
Do you think like Pirates in general is a kind of cool theme?
No.
Not Pirates of the Caribbean, just Pirates in general.
No, I've never been into pirates. It's not one of my things. So
because you're so serious, mate. Pirates just have fun.
No, I'm sure
plunder.
they do.
They take what they want.
I'm sure they do. I have just never ever been into pirates, and when I say never been into them, like really anything pirate related, I would just be absolutely disinterested in. Never
This is why
thing.
You didn't want to spoil Johnny Depp as a pirate.
Correct. I don't want him to ruin my image of him, which is a very high standard.
Did you say ruin or rune?
Oh, was that a gag?
Sorry. It's a gag. So it's a Canadian gag. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
All right. Differences between the standard and the LE. I'm going to go through them really quickly.
Go for it.
Now, I said this is a $1,000 difference in the US, and I believe in Australia as well. The LE has over the standard edition a 72 LED star field on the back panel, laser cut topper, black texture powder coat, Invisiglass, RGB LED GI. The standard still has RGB LEDs under the inserts, but a white GI. External volume control and headphone jack. A pop bumper with the spinning pirate dude. Target decals. Now, if you add all those up together, this is the thing, there is $1,000 worth of value there. If you wanted to powder coat your machine, get Invisiglass, and I'm sure the shaker might be in there as well. I didn't write it down. And get an external volume control with a headphone jack. Three things that I like: the powder coating, the Invisiglass, and the headphone jack. You're almost at $1,000 there anyway in Australia. I'm not sure what powder coating costs in the US, so I don't know many people that would buy. If you have $8,500, you can squeeze an extra $1,000 to get an LE. The LEs, surprisingly, they said they're numbered, but there's no number yet, and I'm guessing Jesse Jack is kind of just watching the market because they have no idea how many they're going to sell.
Right, yeah.
To see how limited they'll make it. They don't want to say, hey, 1,000 or 2,000 if orders just blow up and they can sell 3,000 units. I don't know. I'm still very unsure about their business model in terms of the standard, the LE, and the CE. I don't think it should be cheaper or anything. I just think you need to make a model, which I guess is their CE now.
Yeah.
But the LE is almost like an unlimited run. And it doesn't help the resale value of the pinball machine. And it doesn't make people flock to put their money down like they would for a Stern LE. But at the same time, this is like Stern selling 2,000 LEs, like Wizard of Oz sold more than 2,000, I believe.
Right.
So I don't know. What do you think, Marty?
I think that...
Wait, let me rephrase the question. You said you're not willing to put your money down yet because Pirates and whatnot. If they said there's 500 LEs and there's only, say, 25 coming to Australia, would that put a fire under your feet and make you... No?
No.
Okay. It works for me. It works for me.
Okay, but it doesn't for me because I don't yet have that emotional connection to this as a concept yet. And there's only really been, a couple of times, and I've got those machines at home. When I played Star Trek for the first time, I just fell in love with it and needed to have it. When I played Woz for the first time, same thing. When I played Hobbit for the first time. There's other machines that I've played where I just don't love them, and so therefore I don't need to put money down. So I want to watch the movie first, and then I want to play it coming this weekend, and that may completely change my mind.
We're in a good position because we not only get to play it now, it's after we play it in a public domain, it'll be sitting there at Mr. Pinball, and I'm not sure where all the other ones are going. They might be kept at Jersey Jack warehouse and then be taken to all of the shows. But we might be one of the very lucky people in the world that kind of can spend intimate time with the pinball machine. Like we can get Mr. Pinball to lift up the player field and check out how all these cool mechs work.
Yeah,
yeah.
We'll talk about him later because he's actually been very generous with his time and allowing us into his factory to stream. So yeah, we hope that we'll be able to do that again. But we will be streaming this Saturday. So it'll be I think it's 11 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. I think that's what it is. That's the big one. So 11 a.m. So we will be streaming Pirates of the Caribbean on the Melbourne Silver Ball League Twitch page, which we will link to in the show notes.
How long is the stream? Is this going to be like a 1 hour stream? Or
it's just going to be a 1 hour stream.
Okay.
We'll talk about, because we're going to come up and talk about Flip Out in a second. So we will just play it for an hour. It will be there for a couple of days for people to play. But just sort of back to your question about the standard limited edition and collector's edition. I actually think that the price between the standard edition and the limited edition is possibly too close to each other. Because if you think about if you've got $8,500 US for a standard, and look, I know that that's a lot of money, so don't make it think like I'm just being flippant about money. But if you're going to pay $8,500 US for a machine, pay $9,500 for the limited edition. That's not too much more to go. But if that was a difference between, let's say, $6,500 and $9,500, well, then that's a different sort of proposition.
Well, that's the thing. I think they're literally just putting the standard in there. Well, one, to sell more machines just in case the LE does sell out.
Yep.
But two, it's just, hey, if you really are scraping for cash, we'll remove close to $1,000 worth of stuff, and you can have it for $1,000, and it doesn't affect your gameplay experience.
Yep.
As you said, the gap should be bigger. I'm not sure which way it should be bigger. Like they're either going to sacrifice money on the CE or make more money off the LE. It's one or the other. But I really think it is just just for people that and it's for, I guess, for operators. Operators don't care that much about Invisiglass, the headphone jack. Well, I mean they might, but the standard version, I guess, is the operator friendly version, as friendly as it can be, because obviously this is a lot more expensive than a Stern Pro. Yeah. But hey, look at all the stuff you get. Yeah. And
so, what is a Star Wars LE go for in the US?
I believe it goes for 9 or 8.5. I think there's the normal price and the street price. Yeah. I don't believe they've sold out. I might be wrong. In Australia they have. We don't know the final number that came here, but the price did go up by $500 for the standard and the LE. The CE stayed the same amount. In Australia, the price for the standard is $13,000. The LE is $13,990, so just under $14K. And that was the same price for dialed in. So because of the exchange rate differences, the price didn't go up, which is good for us. But I mean, everything is priced in the US, so it did go up, unfortunately, for the people in the US. And that's the only pushback on this thing, is that people really want these games now, but they can't afford them. And it is a lot of money. As I said, you said before, Marty, it's nothing to laugh about. It's
no, it's not. But I think now for that kind of money, you're actually seeing there is value in the playfield. And if you were to get a standard edition of Pirates of the Caribbean, that's a whole lot of pinball just for a standard.
Yeah, and people have made arguments that the standard edition, they call it standard, but it has more stuff in it than the Super LE. And one thing we didn't talk about is that, well, we kind of did touch on it, that all these mechs and toys that are in there, they're all unique to this pinball machine. There has been no recycling of toys. When we saw Aerosmith, people say, okay, well, it's Indiana Jones here and it's Kiss here. And, it's just different pinball machines. We saw Walking Dead. We say, oh, that's from Austin Powers. And I guess you can say, well, Jersey Jack hasn't made enough pinball machines to start recycling. But I talked about it before yesterday with you. When I saw the drop target mech that they use in The Hobbit, I was like, wow, they developed this crazy mech which has solenoids and switches everywhere, so they can drop a drop target up and down whenever they want. And there's modes where it dances with the music. There's a mode where it exposes a random scale to kill Smaug. And I thought, this is so cool. This is an innovation. Obviously, they're painting. Obviously, this is going to be in every machine that comes down, like every drop target system they're going to have. And Dialed In came out. I'm like, okay, they didn't use it. I guess it'll be in Pirates of the Caribbean. They didn't use it in that either.
No,
they really aren't recycling anything.
But you know what? I tell you what, if they released, this is what would happen. Bloody pinball community. If they released Pirates of the Caribbean with everything that it's got in there, and it had a bank of targets that were individually automatically controlled, that is all that would get airtime. They would go, no. I reckon they would. I reckon people would be like, they've recycled that.
I wanted to put it in there. Like, their mechs are freaking cool, and they're unique already, so it doesn't matter if they use it again.
We will never know until they do it in the future.
Until they do it. All right,
I reckon that's what people would sort of just be like, why'd you do that? You should just show all this innovation. Well, there's 6 innovative things that we've just shown you. Surely we can recycle one thing. But
no, they haven't.
I don't think people would let them do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough on Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, so then moving on to Dutch Pinball, who were there at the Chicago Pinball Expo. What did they have to say?
Yeah, well, Thunderbirds is not going to be the only pinball made in China, because it looks like the contractor that they've got in, which is XY Tech.
Zytec, let's call it.
Okay, yep. So, is that how you say it?
I'm going to assume XY Tech is Zytec.
Okay.
But they're a Dutch company?
Yep, they're a Dutch company, but they've got offices in China. So Barry and the other dude, Jaap, went down there, and they saw the first sample of the Big Lebowski. The engineering sample is going to be completed this month, which is, I guess, fairly soon to what we thought it was going to be out. And there's a Dutch Pinball Open in November that they will be debuting the newly recompleted The Big Lebowski at the Never Ending Saga.
So does this mean, do you think now, I mean, I know it's hard to say, but do you think people are now going to get their machines? Do you think that we've got this turning point, they've got the manufacturer, and, maybe because they're doing it in China, they can then do it cheaper, that people are going to get their machines?
Well, not cheap enough, because apparently the people that ordered first, the early achievers, it's like a badge, early achiever, but it's almost like in now kind of early sucker, because they get pushed to the back of the list because they need new money to fund this whole thing, and because everyone is paid up to a point where there's no new money coming in. They can't tell people that order the machine now, hey, you'll get this after your money goes towards building everyone else's machine. If you order now, I believe, those are the ones that'll be made, and the profit they make off those machines will then go towards, the older machines. So it's an unfortunate situation, but this is what I guess needs to happen for this project to move forward.
Yeah. Well, and that because what we've heard is that they've run out of money, and maybe that there's not enough money to be able to fund what's being made. So maybe this just really is their only way out. I mean, the company itself actually does have, they've got locations in Netherlands and Israel, as well as China. So they could have manufactured anywhere, but they've chosen China for a reason.
Well, I think every company chooses China for a reason.
It's that
labor,
cheap parts.
Cheap. We'll talk more about the other companies in detail, maybe in future episodes. But I mean, I think you'd agree, Marty, that we were so captivated by Pirates of the Caribbean that we spent most of our time and energy focused towards that because it is so exciting. And we've watched little snippets of talks and read summaries, but we haven't sat there and watched a 1 hour seminar on Dutch pinball because, time is money and you can't do it all.
But I was having this conversation last night with Lucas, who's in on a Big Lebowski, and I don't know, I felt really bad saying this to him, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying it, but I kind of, and I did say this earlier, after now seeing Pirates of the Caribbean, I kind of just look at Big Lebowski and just think, it's done. It's old news now.
I feel the same way about Aliens, but I haven't played that yet, but it is true. I mean, JJP are never going to compete with the Stern Pro market. I don't think so. They can't. Stern are amazing at building pros, but that middle market, the Stern LEs, all these boutique companies, not TNA because it's totally different, but we don't know what Alice Cooper's going to be like. Alien, Big Lebowski, all those machines, they not up to the same level as what Pirates of the Caribbean is, so they kind of automatically, they don't seem like the premium machine anymore because, as I said, JJP has set that bar so high.
Yeah, agreed. Well, so speaking of Alien, so I guess we probably can just talk about the event that's coming up. So we have mentioned that Flip Out is happening this weekend, the 21st and 22nd of October in Melbourne at the Sandbelt Hotel in Moorabbin. And we've just seen on the Mr. Pinball Australia Facebook page that two Alien pinball machines have arrived.
And these are the machines. These are like the newer manufacturer or the people that have taken over. This is their take on the machine. So I believe they sent 20 of them or so to the US to CoinTaker, but they didn't get there on time. So Alien pretty much wasn't at Expo, which is a big miss. If they sent it a week earlier, they probably would have been 5 Aliens there.
Yeah.
So Alien wasn't there. Total Nuclear Annihilation wasn't really there. Well, it wasn't meant to be. And then Scott Denisi on Friday night, I believe, bought his own machine to Expo to show everyone because, hey, there are a lot of people there, regardless of the situation between them and Mike. It's good. It's good press. The more people that play the machine, the more sales they get. So that was well received. Again, I don't think there's anything new to report on that besides that people like Total Nuclear Annihilation. But yeah, all these smaller companies, they've got a lot to live up for.
Yeah, they really do now. That, as you said right from the start, that new standard has now been set.
But this is the thing. I mean, I don't think JJP are just going to rest on the laurels and say, well, Jack has said he wants his new machine to be the best machine that comes out. They're going to just keep on going more and more forwards, and it's kind of scary to think what can you do above Pirates of the Caribbean. But I don't know. I want internet connectivity. I want to be able to see how much money my Hobbit is making on site without going there. I just want to log in and check.
Okay, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's all meant to be coming, but I mean they mentioned it 3 years ago, and I just don't think it's a priority for them at the moment. But I'm not complaining.
No, fair enough.
But I guess there is room always. Are we done with Expo, Marty?
We're done with Expo. So probably the next thing we can move on to the competition winner. So as mentioned last week, we have got one more 3-day pass to PAX, which I think is on the 27th to the 29th of October in Melbourne. So that's the Penny Arcade Expo, where there will be what we assume is going to be a large pinball showing in the retro gaming area, and there'll be competitions and there'll be some very exciting pinballs there to play. And so the competition that we did last week was we put up 9 images, and they were all of flippers or flipper gaps, because we had talked about a large flipper gap last week. And the games were, so number 1 was The Shadow, number 2 was Revenge from Mars, Number 3 was Doctor Who. Number 4 was Centaur. 5 was Ghostbusters. 6 was Wheel of Fortune. That was a dead giveaway, that one. 7 was Baby Pac-Man. 8 was Cubert's Quest. And 9 was No Good Gophers. And we actually got a huge response to this, but there was just a couple of them that people got confused about. People did say Attack from Mars instead of Revenge from Mars. And I think some people said Pac-Man or Mystery Mrs. Pac-Man instead of Baby Pac-Man. So, as I said, we got a lot of entries in, but there was only 8 people that got it right.
There's actually a couple more that got it right, but they were in the US and they were just playing along like we said you could.
Yeah.
But they said, don't worry about, I want to forfeit the prize. I just want to get the questions right. So well done to those people.
Yep.
Including Jeff. So we got 8. I've got random. Should we name them here? Or?
Yep. So 1 was Nimmer, 2 Mishi, 3 Raymond G, 4 Stu T, 5 Brett B, 6 Daniel L, 7 Alex T, and 8 Anthony P. So
should we do it? We'll announce the winner, but after we announce the winner, should we do just 1 or 2 more just in case those people, I don't know all these people, maybe in state or can't come or anything, so they can forfeit the prize? Yeah?
Well, let's do that, because if it's someone that we know, then absolutely we'll be fine. So are you generating or am I generating?
You can generate.
Okay, here we go. I'm generating, and the number is 5, which is Brett B. Brett B, please come to reception to collect your tickets to PAX Australia. A 3-day pass worth $165.
Can I generate the next one?
Go for it.
This is just in case Brett B.
The runner-up, just in case, so that person can then hold out hoping that Brett B.
I got 5 again. All right, let me generating. Oh my God, 5 again. Brett, you really should. Okay, 6. Daniel Luth.
Okay, Daniel Luth. Next. So,
but Brett won 3 times in a row.
So this random generator really wanted you to win. So Brett, we will be in touch straight away, and hopefully you'll be able to come to PAX for 3 days.
$165, man. That's a good price.
$65. That's pretty good.
We've got some more competitions coming. I got a prize donated to me in the middle of the week by someone very nice, Mr. Coops. We might wait a little bit to give away that, just because we've been giving away just way too many things, Marty.
We need to have a break from it.
All right, this week in pinball, Marty.
What did we do together? We had some fun this week. The first thing that we did, and it's I will say, it's the very first time I've done something.
Really?
The very first time. No, but I've never been. So we went to a poker night. I have never been to a poker night. I know how to play poker, but I've never been to someone's house, or I've never been to a location of any kind where you go to that place to play poker.
AKA a casino.
Or yeah, I've never played poker at a casino.
Okay.
I've played blackjack, but I've never played poker.
But, Marty, you told me that you're an expert on deceiving and lying.
I'm a really good bluffer. I will tell you that. And there was this particular hand, which was a really good hand, and I didn't want to put too many chips in there because I didn't want people to think that I had this great hand. And you leant over to me, I'm sure this is considered cheating, and you went, hey, if you've got a really good hand, don't put all your chips in. And I looked at you like, yeah, I know.
You baited everyone.
I did. I just,
13 players, so there's a lot of money going on.
There was a really good bunch of people. But the really good thing about this was there was 13 players, but we were at Andy's house. Hi, Andy. And if you were out, you then went and played pinball. So there wasn't
so you
really
win
a
even
downside.
when you lose. Yeah,
it was win-win. So I'm on record, I think, last night when I said that I had a short stack. I think that's a term. And in the end, I went, you know what? It's going to be very difficult for me to come back from this. I just want to go and play pinball, so I just went all in.
Yep. You got bust. So I took it probably a bit more seriously than I should, since I love pinball so much, and I should have joined you and played dialed in and all these mint condition pinball machines. But I I came third, and I was begging, when we got down to the final 4 or final 3, that we could have a payout for, first, second, and third. But it was a winner takes all situation. And the funny thing about this whole situation, Marty, is that we met someone that it didn't click who they were.
I know.
So, pinball famous Jared Mendoza, who runs the biggest Facebook buy and sell page in Australia, which is the Auswide. What is it? Auswide Pinball Buy and Sell.
Buy and sell.
If you search for, yeah. So he runs that. He does a pretty good job at it because there's pretty much never any drama on there, and it's over 3,000 members, which in Australia is a pretty big community. And he shook my hand and said, "Hey, I'm Jared," and he started talking about pinball machines. Like, he was like one of the only people there that really knew about pinball machines, because these were kind of like, I want to use the word, normal human beings that are playing pinball for the first time. Yeah. And I shook his hand and talked to him for ages and played poker. I think he won the entire thing, and it didn't click until I got home that he was the Jared Mendoza. So I'm sorry, Jared, that it didn't click, because he knew who we were. I asked him afterwards. I'm like, did you know who we, like who I was and who Marty was? I'm like, yeah. It was good because
you're doing a celebrity check.
Not a celebrity check, just a pinball check. Like, hey, you're a pinball guy. We can talk about pinball. Like, I don't know. He didn't lead with it. I'm not disappointed or anything. I thought it was hilarious, and he's a really nice guy.
So it was a good night. But probably the big event of the weekend was that we got to stream a very special machine. Special in so many ways. It really is.
Yes, which special are you using, Marty?
Yeah, so we got to stream Magic Girl. Thank you, Mr. Pinball Wayne, for inviting us to your warehouse, and we finally got to play it. And it's an interesting situation, because walking up to it, the first thing that you notice is that it is a beautiful machine. It is very good looking.
Yes. Like many machines are, but this was just kind of that extra. Well, it's special and it's beautiful, but it's also very unique, because there probably will only be one in Australia forever.
Yes.
I don't think anyone else is going to import it. So it does have that kind of wow factor. You see photos of it, but then you see it in real life, and I think it looks great.
Yeah, it absolutely does look great, and it's a premium build. Like, everything feels really solid. The build of materials on this would have been pretty high, and Wayne has had a really good look at the mechanics, the electronics, and said that it's we believe that this has been built by American Pinball, and he said that if this is what they can do, their build quality, then Houdini should be pretty good.
Yeah, and how did it play, Marty? That's what we want to know, right? With pinball players, it might look good, but
okay.
How does it...
Before we get to that, what we'll say is this. So it came shipped to Australia, and we didn't know what state it would come in, whether it was going to have more things working on it, whether it was going to have enhanced software. We just didn't know. So what we have since found out, that it pretty much arrived in the same state as every other Magic Girl that are in homes or wherever they're located around the world. Meaning, a lot of the stuff's missing. There's magnets that were meant to be there that aren't there. There's features of the table that don't work. There's code that's missing. It's just not even half a game. But what Mr. Pinball Wayne has done, and this is what we've got to remember with him, we've seen his factory, we've seen his workbench. This guy's very clever and can work things out. So what he's been able to do, he's got the schematics. He's been actually able to get some of the stuff working that other people haven't been able to do.
Some of the things.
Some of the things. I'm not saying... no, he has not been able to make this game work fully.
Yeah, but he's got the Williams test machine, and he's trying to work with the magnets. I mean, like the there's only so much you can do hardware wise though,
Yes.
and then you have to rely on software. And I mean, I felt privileged to be there and see the machine, but I think in a span of 2.5 hours or however long the stream was, I played 3 games and the second 2 were forced.
Yeah. It wasn't fun. I think I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to play it, and people will get to play it this weekend at Flip Out.
It's worth putting money into to tick up the list, right?
Absolutely. And I probably got to play it more than most, and I got up a couple of good scores, which was good. But you can see that there is a fantastic game there if it was working. Because a lot of people were asking, what's the geometry like? What do the shots feel like? And the shots feel good. The sound is great. Some of the call-outs are great. But the rules just aren't there. So what we ended up doing most of the time was just hitting it up the middle through the spinner, or getting the left orbit. You could light locks, and then but then you had to shoot up the left ramp, and it just wouldn't lock a ball.
No.
And that whole crazy 3 or 4 level big feature at the back of the machine doesn't work. But I believe you managed to get multi-ball. Like, I didn't get multi-ball working, but I believe as soon as I left, you did.
Yeah. Well, not that multi-ball. There's another multi-ball in the game called Newton multi-ball, and I don't believe this has ever been filmed before because the only person that's really unboxed it is Chris Canada. Everyone else, I think, is keeping it in the box, possibly, or just being very private about it, like you probably would. But I'm not sure if people know about this, but there's the left captive ball. It's a hard shot. It's kind of like the captive ball shot in Ghostbusters. And we took the glass off when you left, and we're kind of trying to get things to work. This is after the stream had finished, and we hit that captive ball enough times, and then all of a sudden it said Newton multi-ball is ready. It was like shoot the trapdoor or something like that. And we all like, there was like 5 of us there, and we were all like, where's the trapdoor? And we're trying to figure it out. And then literally 5 or 10 seconds later, it timed out, and that was it. And so like, all right, let's do it again. So we spelt Newton again, and it started, and I think we shot the ball up the middle, and all of a sudden, multi-ball had started. It was a 2-ball multi-ball. There's no auto plunger in this game, so the ball just kind of sat in the it sat in the shooter lane, which isn't a shooter lane, like, because they haven't dug out the grooves for it.
Yep.
And it was funny because we'd all been sitting there for 5 minutes, like pressing things, like everyone's like sticking their hand in. We didn't wreck anything, but it was hilarious that when that ball shot into the shooter lane, we all started cheering. Like, it wasn't like it wasn't staged or anything. We were just all so happy that we got a second ball to come out in this game. And Wayne was playing, and we're getting jackpots. There's jackpot call-outs. It's there. So yeah, I think the struggle is now that those 20 or so owners, is the machine savable by code? Yes, but there's also some hardware things that I think
it's a combination of both, isn't it? But
well, for example, the main multi-ball that was lit that we couldn't start, that you shoot up the left ramp. If you read the instructions for it, it was 1 ball gets locked on the left ramp, 1 ball gets locked on the right ramp, and then I think you shoot up the middle to start multi-ball. Now, it is impossible to stage those balls on the left and right ramp. There's no physical ball lock. So you can't just code that in. It would have to be a mechanical device that like a post that goes up, but there's nowhere to put that post. So I guess he could modify the software so that it could be a virtual lock.
Yep.
And then the ball gets kicked out. I mean, Big Bang Bar doesn't have a auto plunger, and in the wizard mode, you get unlimited ball saves for I think 25 seconds, and you have to sit there and auto plunge the ball out like yourself. So it can be done. There are some weird things, and Chris Canada posted about this a while ago, that there's a target in the left orbit. I'm not sure if you saw it, Marty, because this was after you left. It awards you 5 million points, but it's absolutely impossible for the ball to ever hit this. It's literally like
Right. I didn't see it.
It's halfway through the left orbit. The ball goes all the way up, and it would, it diverts in the middle, or it might go all the way around if the diverter's not active. It was like they cut a bit out of the right part of the orbit, so the ball's not going along there, and put a target facing perpendicular to the ball. So the ball, even if the ball stopped, it would never. There's no slingshot to kick it in there. It's absolutely impossible. I don't know why it's there, but it's there, and it does something. It said it awards 5 million points, which is a lot in this game.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah.
One last thing that we did when you were gone. All the action happened after you left, Marty.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Well, there's the owl, right? There's the owl shot.
Yes.
There's an owl kind of looking a certain way, and there's a captive ball, and it's so hard to hit that captive ball because there's a target right in front of it. You literally have to graze the right side of it. It's almost like there's meant to be, someone commented, I think it was Stacy, there's probably meant to be like an upper right flipper, because that would make perfect sense to kind of hit it side on. Now, it was really hard for us to hit this captive ball to activate the switch to see what it does, even using our hands. But when we did it, it said secret owl message, like, hit it 39 more times to explode. Like, oh my God, this is going to take us forever because 39 hits on this. Like, as I said, it was hard even to throw the ball because so much junk and plastic in the way. After like 20 seconds of play on the ball, we managed to hit it again, and it said secret owl only 39 more times. And we're like, what? 30? Okay, it must have been 40 before. So we hit it again. Secret owl 39 times. So you can, I think that's an issue with the software. So we will never know what the secret owl message is. It
will remain a secret.
It will remain a secret forever. That owl might know the meaning of life. We don't know.
Oh man. So what, we're glad we got to experience it. I kind of do feel for, I kind of do now really feel for people that have got them. Meaning that if they do actually make it and release it, then that's a problem. There's obviously one of the big things for them to do that is they've got to change the art because Zombie Yeti has not signed over the art. And that's probably its biggest appeal is the way it looks. It really does look great. And, I wasn't the one that said it during the night, but I did hear many times that it's a box of lights.
Yeah, and you mentioned before that the sound is really good. I mean, the sound quality is good, but the implementation of the sound, like when you hit that spinner, I almost wanted to walk away because it repeats the sound over and over again every switch hit, and it doesn't blend into each other. It's not like a cool spinner sound. It's like, my ears are hurting. Stop spinning. So yeah, it's pretty. It's, if you own it, if you're a collector, then it's a trophy, right? It's a trophy. If you live in New York and it's your only pinball machine, and it's your only connection to the pinball world when you wake up and play, I'm talking to Kaneda, and I've told him this. I'm not being an asshole. I've told him this after I played it. You can't have this as your only pinball machine. You have a warped sense of reality. And how can, even if you're in walking distance of other pinball machines, it's better to have a Demolition Man in your house than just one Magic Girl, because it doesn't. You can't. Pinball machines are meant to be played. You can't just have them as prizes, unless, as I said, you're a collector. If you have one machine, don't make it a Magic Girl.
Oh, but if you've got a couple, you can have this as your trophy and then move others in and out.
Yeah, sure. But it's just the number one. If you have one pinball machine, it can't be a non-working box of lights. Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, anyway, we did it, and so the stream is still available on the Melbourne Silverball League Twitch page. So that is Melbourne Silverball League, I think one word, if you go twitch.tv/. And I have uploaded it. Well, I've tried to upload it to YouTube, but for some reason, it's not uploading in high definition. It's just standard definition. So I'm not going to release it until I try again and I get it done properly.
I've already emailed that to Jeff.
Okay, there you go. So have I. I already did too, but that's okay. It's there. It's just, unfortunately, it's in a very low resolution, so you really don't get to see what it is. But I am going to try.
Plus,
again.
all the cool stuff happened. I did get the end of Multiball on video, but as I said, this is the first time it's ever been streamed, I believe. to the world. Everyone's kind of like hiding their machines besides Canada, who graciously made all those videos. It will be, free to play, not free to play. It's, you can put a couple of dollars in to play, and I think it all goes to charity at the Flip Out event. And I believe that'll be the first time that Magic Girl is available to the public. So
yeah.
Very gracious of Wayne from Mr. Pinball for doing it, because most people are hiding these things, right?
That's right, and we will get to hopefully stream it again as it progresses. Wayne will keep working on it, and hopefully this time we'll have better lighting, so we'll be able to stream on time as well.
Cool.
So what's happened in your week on your own?
I'm going to keep this nice and short, since we talked about Pirates of the Caribbean for 5 hours.
Yep.
Circus Voltaire has left the building.
Yes.
It's now at the Golden Fleece, so you can go and play my machine. And I've made it play pretty nice, I believe. But I'm always pretty anal about my machine, so if anything doesn't work, please let me know. And yeah, my kid was happy to see it go. We spent about kind of like an hour and a half playing it together. I said, it's going this time. It's not going to come back for a while. And we made a peace with it. And it's weird, because when I got it in, I kind of really disliked it. And I said, why did I get this machine again? But there's something about that machine. It said it might be just the lights spewing out at me, the rainbow-colored lights. But maybe it's because it was like the third machine that I ever got. I have kind of like a place for it in my pinball heart. But there's something special about that machine that I really like. So it might end up back at my house one day.
Yeah, I do like that machine. I like it a lot.
The other thing I want to talk about is that I feel like I have sometimes more fun telling people how to play Jersey Jack pinball machines than I do like playing them, but I'm always telling people how to play the Hobbit.
Yeah, so I did see that last night.
Well, some people don't like me telling them how to play it, which is fine, but they don't know how to play it, and they don't want to know how to play it. Like James, he just doesn't want to know. But then, yeah, like Lucas, he's played it, plenty of times, but he still didn't understand the whole Arkansas mode thing. And I was doing this at one of the Pinball Expo last year. I sat there for an hour just by the Jersey Jack machines, telling people how to play, because I think it's more fun when you realize the rules of the Hobbit. At the dialed-in reveal, Wayne grabbed me from a conversation and said, "Hey, this guy's bought, this older gentleman, I can't remember his name. He's like, he's bought the Hobbit and he doesn't know how to really play it. Can you please tell him?" And this guy literally had a printout of someone's rule sheet and the flow chart, and he's like, "Can you please explain how it works?" I'm like, oh my god, I can't explain anything. So I had to sit with him on the machine, and yeah, I feel like I could get a job as a Jersey Jack tutor. If there's a job out there for me, I will gladly sit next to machines and tell people how to play them.
How much do you think it pays?
Like, I don't know, $2 a game.
Yeah, not much.
Up,
just free games and beer.
I'm saying I enjoy doing it. So if I'm next to a Jersey Jack machine, or even a Stern machine, I like letting people know what I know, which is not everything, but it's something. That's it. That's it for me this week.
Well, for me, a couple of things happened. First of all, I have received a new game in my house finally. So,
did you buy it?
Oh, well, I didn't buy it. This is the fortunate thing. So, I had a Star Trek Next Generation on loan. So that's now gone. Thank you, Stu. And I am now minding what was previously your secret pinball machine, but you've now admitted to your wife that you bought it.
Yeah.
And that is The Sopranos.
Ooh, what kind of condition it is in, Marty?
Oh, it is minty fresh. It is such good condition. We talked about it. There's a couple of things. There's a switch that's not working, and there's
so it's not mint.
No, it's not. Well, no, playfield, everything looks great. It's all LED'd out. But yeah, so the switch on the right ramp's not working, and as I've self-confessed, I just don't have the patience to fix these things, even though you've told me that it's really easy. So I'm going to get you to come over and fix it. So I have actually also received my flap kit for my Hobbit. So you will be able to come over and fix my flaps.
Your Terry folds.
My Terry folds. But actually, probably the other highlight for my weekend, Terry Fold, hilarious, was that I had a personal strip club session.
Mate, you can't talk about a strip club. That's controversial.
It is. Well, I'm not going to show any pictures. But so the Lucas from the Bayside Pinball Club, we mention him almost every week. He was one that had a group of people over and showed us all how to strip down a pinball machine and clean it. And he did the Stern Indiana Jones, and it just looked immaculate. So my Jurassic Park has been on site at Pinball Paradise for, I want to think probably about 10 months. I think it's probably been by now. And so things started sort of breaking down, so I thought I'd just bring it home just as it's getting a bit old. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to strip it down and clean it. And we probably, down and back up together was probably about 4.5 hours, but we ran out of time because we had to come to the Magic Girl stream, and we literally had only one thing to go back in, and that was the flipper bat. And so I still haven't seen what it looks like, but we flame polished all the plastics. We cleaned everything. What did I do? I used the drill to clean some of the metal posts on your steel Brillo, whatever it is, the steel cloth thing.
Yeah.
But I even also filed down the tops of screws so they were shiny. I just went through every single thing that came off and just polished it to an inch of its life. So it is going to
4.5 hours. It sounds pretty short. I thought this takes people like weeks.
Well, there was 2 people doing it. So
you and Lucas, or
myself and Lucas. So
okay.
Lucas was disassembling and reassembling, and I was cleaning most of the parts. But he did the flame polishing because I'm not allowed to have a flame by law. So so hopefully when it gets done, we'll be able to show you a picture of what it looks like.
So you have no room for this because my Sopranos is there. So
it is going to be at Flip Out this weekend. So you'll all be able to see the good work that's been done, and the following week it'll be at PAX, and maybe by that time you'll need your Sopranos home.
Okay, well CV is gone, and I've got Sea Witch in there, so I do have room for it. It'll be very, very tight, but I don't even know if I want Sopranos home, and I'll tell you why. I was watching your stream, Marty.
Yep.
And Sopranos was in the incandescent era.
Yep.
So I can only blame myself for getting the LEDs put on this. But every time you would get a jackpot, I was having an epileptic fit over the stream, and I was like, "What is going on? Who designed this pinball? Who did the software for this pinball machine?
Who is it?"
This is like a reoccurring theme. Is that Dwight Sullivan? He designs he does the software for a lot of pinball machines, and I can't blame him for it because, as I said, they're not meant to be that full on because they're meant to be incandescents. But yeah, maybe I'll swap incandescents back in there just so I can have it in my house for a little while. But it was never meant to be a long-term purchase. I think it's just I want to own almost every pinball machine.
Yeah, Pokemon, got to catch them all.
90s onwards, and Sopranos. I couldn't pass up an absolute mint Sopranos. So
well, I've always liked Sopranos. I've never seen Sopranos, so I don't know about the theme. But it plays really well. I mean, it's a George Gomez, and it's a George Gomez by numbers, meaning it's a greatest hits. You might as well be playing an Attack from Mars, or you might as well be playing Monster Bash. It kind of borrows from all of them, or even Lord of the Rings. There's some feel to it.
Paging Marty. He designed Monster Bash, but not Attack from Mars.
Didn't he? Oh, I thought he did.
Attack from Mars was Brian Eddy, I think.
Oh, it was too. But there's some similarities with the layout to Attack from Mars. That's what I was feeling when I was playing it. But certainly Monster Bash. It has.
People say Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
So I did say that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I said that. We've been going for a while, Marty. Have we?
We're done.
Are we done? Yeah.
We are done. And if people do want to get in touch with us, and please send us some emails, we will read them out and we will sometimes respond back to you, but we like to get feedback. Yep,
and you can email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com. we will be making an appearance at the Jersey Jack event as.
Yeah, we've got a couple of seminars ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, apparently we're famous enough to be talking about the podcast.
So if you want to bring some things along to sign, we can sign some things. We do have a half an hour slot on both days, and come along to Flip Out because there'll be the pinball party bus will be there. Did you know that?
Oh my god, awesome!
The pinball party bus will be out there. So hi Mick and Dion, they will be there both days. Jersey Jack will be there. He'll be doing a seminar. We've got Norbert Sneisser on the Saturday who's doing a seminar. Jeff from Pinball Perfection will be doing a seminar. There'll be a session on all the pinball clubs in Melbourne. I said there'll be a head-to-head section. There'll be Jack and Jack Jr. will also be doing sessions. Oh my god, the timetable for this event is just jam-packed. There are so many different
It's our own little mini expo.
Yeah,
right after expo.
It is. So there's a lot on. If you want more information, go to mrpinball.com.au. We will link it in the show notes. Tickets are still available.
Pirates of the Caribbean will be there. That's all you need to know. All the other stuff is just Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, so Pirates of the Caribbean will be there. We will be streaming that.
2 alien pinball machines.
Two
Magic
alien pinball
Girl.
machines and Magic Girl.
My Demolition Man is going to be there. You can play it with me, okay?
Yep. My Jurassic Park. You can ogle over what a great job we've done stripping it down and putting it back up.
My Doctor Who will be there. You can make your ears bleed and everyone else around you. The Shadow. You can hear the best call out. 3-way combo. Anyway.
So what's the jackpot call out on Demolition Man?
You idiot.
Yes.
All right.
So thanks everybody. We will speak to you again next Monday.
See ya.